All right, we'll talk about Tucker Carlson being detained and stuff like that as well. But let's get started with Holy Mr. Toledo.
Holy Toledo.
Governors
have a whole lot of power. And
I can't even watch a YouTube video, man. That is crazy.
Holy Toledo.
That's crazy. Come on, man.
All this talk of a Democratic
right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is there anyone else on your network or just you? It's nothing like yesterday at all. I mean, my mom is here. Maybe she's on the network, but I don't think that's the problem. Anne, interneti kullanıyor musun şu anda? Okay, just making sure. Like right now, it says I have 700 up. And like, or no, 6 up, 700 down. 4 up, 700 down. That's what it says on the internet speed test side. But, 3 up. Great. And that's like, I'm being throttled. I'm pretty sure I'm being throttled. I think my ISP has been steadily throttling my ass. But what's interesting is like they're throttling the download as well, which is new, I think. Especially because I had a technician come out last night. If you have cable, your bandwidth to share with your neighbors. Sounds like you're on DOCSIS 3.0 still. Yeah, but I have a business package. Like when you get the enterprise package and you pay a fucking premium price for it, they don't throttle you. They're not supposed to, at least. And I think either my ISP changed its policies without telling anybody, especially because they can get away with doing shit like that, or there are real issues. Pre-record chat is annoying anyway. Okay, dude, you're annoying for saying dumb shit like that. I'm not going to pre-record 8 hours of a broadcast at nighttime and then run it during daytime. What are you talking about? What a great suggestion, dude. I am speculating. I am speculating that my internet service provider has changed his contracts to basically cook even the enterprise customers, like business customers, and they're fucking me now. Like, because back in the day, if you were a regular client during peak hours, they would just throttle the fuck out of you. So I switched over to business because I thought in business, it's like an unspoken secret that business customers don't get the throttle on the same nodes that otherwise get overloaded, where they you experience packet loss. If you're on the same node with like a bunch of other people in your neighborhood, in your block, they literally will just, they will cook you. They will throttle the shit out of you. And this kind of stuff, unfortunately, is there's no real accountability. And chat kept yelling at you to get business because your stream ended at 3 p.m. every day. Yeah. And then I got business. I got the business client. And no, there's no fiber available in my neighborhood, chat. Please stop. If you are the only enterprise business customer in your area, I doubt you have a dedicated node for your crib. No, but it doesn't matter, because when you're a business enterprise customer, even if you're on the node with like everybody else, they give you prio and they don't actually fucking throttle your shit. That's the whole point of getting a business, becoming a business client. Do you understand? Anyway, let's just watch Mr. Holy Toledo.
Holy Toledo. Governors have a whole lot of power, and there's all this talk of a Democratic wave. But the gubernatorial races nationwide should stand as a wake-up call for Democrats, because take a look here. The race raiders, governors post-2026 election, at least tilting to the Republicans. Look at this. A majority, 26. That is, at this point, the number of governors that are expected, at least tilting towards the Republican Party at this point. Democrats come in at just 20. The rest of the races are toss-up. Of course, you sum up to 50. And I will note that the Republicans right now hold a 26 to 24 gubernatorial seat advantage. So at this point, it doesn't look like Republicans on the net and the aggregate are actually going to lose any governorships. In fact, When you add in those toss-ups, they may gain. So this should stand as a major wake-up call to Democrats, because if there's a wave building, it has not, at least at this point, hit the state level when it comes to governorships.
And add to that, you point out that when it comes to governor's races, Democrats have had a bit of a problem over recent years.
Yeah, they have had a big problem recently. If you go back, the last time that Democrats held a majority of governorships was all the way back in 2010, and that streak is expected to continue. And I will note, I went all the way back through the record books, Kate Baldwin. I went all the way back through the record books. This is now the longest streak in which Democrats did not hold a majority of governorships in at least a century. This is a massive problem for Democrats because, as we mentioned at the top, a lot of the policy is determined on the state level. And if all of a sudden you can't actually lead a majority of governorships, the executive branch on the state level, that means Republicans are in fact forming and implementing most of the policies in the states, and therefore a lot of the policies nationwide.
Well, and the power of the governor also has to do with how the state legislature it looks. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, okay, so it's not just the governorships. How about those state legislatures, right? Okay, take a look here. Republicans have held a majority of state legislatures since 2012. And again, this is the longest.
So this is very significant, and it corresponds to the Republican agenda of sidestepping the legislative body and simply legislating through the state legislatures, where gerrymandering plays a significant advantage, more so than the Senate, obviously where the Senate, it doesn't exist, but even more so than the House of Representatives, right? Like, what's going on here, what's taking place here is 100% a long-standing project of the Republican Party, which is to effectively neuter the main legislative branch, and then utilize the states to do your bidding. That's how, for example, even when Biden was in charge, they were able to push through so many anti-trans bills at the state level. They were able to enact a horrifying agenda of violence and cruelty towards marginalized communities, specifically through the state legislatures, and then have that maneuvering get tested in the courts, and then go all the way up to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court is obviously pliant to the MAGA mission, where they would turn around and effectively change the constitutional interpretation. This is, sorry, I'm getting updates on the internet. Every good thing that my city does, the state legislature just undermines. It's annoying. Yeah. It is a very reliable tool in the tool belt. There was no F, chat. I just stopped talking. Yes, we're going to talk about Tucker being detained in a second, okay?
Such streak dating back at least a century in which Republicans have held the majority of the state legislatures. In fact, for much of the 20th century, what you saw was Democrats actually held more state legislatures than Republicans did. And now it is the exact opposite. And if you go state legislature by state legislature, at this point it seems likely, of course still uncertain since we have a number of months until November elections, that Republicans will continue the streak of holding the majority of state legislatures, continue their streak of holding the majority of governorships, and therefore Democrats will be locked out of holding a power in positions that really do determine a lot of the policy nationwide. As I said, this should stand as a wake-up call for Democrats, because at this point, Republicans look like they're going to continue to hold the majority of governorships nationwide.
A very interesting look at this. It's good to see you here. Thanks.
Nice to see you, Kate.
It appears, at least for now, that a bipartisan meeting of governors at the White House is back on after President Trump initially only invited Republican governors, but he's still blocking 2 Democratic governors from a separate dinner and attacking the GOP chair of the National Governors Association, a very conservative Republican named Kevin Stitt, as a rhino. Let's bring in Democratic Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky to discuss it all. Governor, there's a lot of confusion over whether Democratic governors are still invited to attend this bipartisan meeting and dinner at the White House. Kevin Stitt, the Oklahoma governor and the chair of the National Governors Association, seemed to say that you and your fellow Democrats are invited, but then the president went on social media and attacked him. What's your understanding?
House sensitive or House/Senate races, the governorship votes. So the gubernatorial race is actually one of the few races that's kind of decoupled from party loyalty, even though it obviously plays a massive role in the party advancing its interests, in the party advancing its agenda. Andy Bashar is actually a perfect example of this. Deep red state, but he's deep blue. He's uncompromising on protecting trans people and stuff like that. So, like, it actually plays a really big role in how the parties operate. But at the level of the voter, when they're going out and voting for a governor, it's a much more personal decision. It's a much more personal decision, and it's entirely around, like, what the governor is going to do, like how the governor pitches why you have to vote for him. Okay? The reason why I say this is because there are plenty of instances where you'll have a red state with a blue governor, and even more instances where you have a blue state with a red governor, right? So the governor has tremendous power over the state and over the state legislature, the power of the veto, the power to basically run it like a president, like a mini president. And yet, regardless of that, there are plenty of instances where, you know, you have more moderate red governors in blue states, and you have blue governors in red states.
Are you invited to these events? Are you planning on going?
It's just a lot of drama, and it's unnecessary. You know, governors wake up every day focused on getting results, on creating better jobs, creating safer communities, expanding access to health care, improving our public schools. And this meeting is an annual bipartisan tradition where we try to push our differences aside and talk about how we move forward in those areas. Yet the president has just turned it into drama, inviting and disinviting others. It no longer looks like it's going to be productive at all. At this point, I'm not going. If you're not going to invite all the Democratic governors, this chair of the DGA isn't going to be there.
So just for the record, it's Jared Polis of Colorado and Wes Moore of Maryland who are the two Democrats not invited. Are you worried at all that you not going will ultimately hurt your constituents in any way, denying you an opportunity to bring up your concerns with the president directly?
We've been able to communicate with this administration for our concerns, but there's a time when you have to stand up against the drama of a president that's turned an annual bipartisan tradition and is treating it like he's a 12-year-old and it's his birthday party, inviting and disinviting people, lashing out at others. You know, the American people admittedly don't care about this dinner. They don't care necessarily about the meeting. They care about whether you're improving their lives, decreasing costs, trying to address their everyday challenges. So that's what I'm going to be focused on.
For the record, I've had two 12-year-olds, and neither of them would have ever done that. The administration is increasingly focused on the midterms. Earlier in the show, we played some sound from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem talking about making sure the right people are voting and electing the right leaders. Between that and the DOJ demanding voter information from states and the president saying he plans to implement voter ID requirements even without congressional approval, are you worried as a governor about what is going to happen at the midterms?
Well, it's my job to be worried. Kristi Noem's statements are wild and they are un-American. The president talking about not federalizing elections. He first said Republicans should take over elections in certain states. That is anti-democracy. But Democratic governors and AGs are ready to stand up and make sure we have full and fair elections. But I'll say this. If you try to intimidate the American people, especially when it comes to something so foundational as voting, I think you're underestimating them. I think you'd see huge lines and people singing. You know, people want to be Americans first, and Democrats or Republicans second, third, or fourth. You put our democracy at jeopardy. You try to intimidate them from voting, and they will step up and protect this country.
But what are you specifically talking about doing if there is an issue?
Well, the first thing we do is go to court. That's what the courts are for. I've taken on this Trump administration despite being in a Trump plus 31 state over and over and over, and we've been winning. when they've tried to take the personal information of our citizens so that they can use it as they wish, we stood up to them. When they tried to cancel funding so that we could create a warning system in eastern Kentucky for the next time it would flood, we stood up to them. Time and time again, they've overreached, like trying to send National Guard from Texas to Illinois. We were a part of that lawsuit, standing up and winning for the American people.
You talk about needing FEMA in the case of a natural disaster of any sort. Are you worried at all about
Chatters? Yes, we're going to talk about Israel in a little bit. Obviously, please. Okay? I know. Like, calm down. A lot of you are spamming, but I want to move through this at the pace that I would like to. I know Trump is live at a Black History Month reception,
but
where
he time. But I said, I'm looking for other people like you. How many are there? Many. Then I was worried because I said, well, maybe she's going to say everybody should be let out. We're not a believer in that. I said, so Alice, are there people that shouldn't be? You met a lot of people.
We'll get to this in a little bit because he's already had a Jesse Jackson soundbite as well from this, expected gaffe machine, right? Obviously, Trump talking about Black History Month is going to be disastrous, okay? And I know Tucker Carlson's been fucking detained! Stop! I know! Fuck! You think I'm unfamiliar with Tucker Carlson being fucking detained in Israel? You think I don't know about this? I do know about this. What do you want me to do? Fuck.
About Senate Democrats blocking DHS funding in this latest government shutdown standoff?
Well, hopefully it won't last too long because FEMA is incredibly important and, I will admit, is operating pretty well under this president, at least the people on the ground that are helping people after the natural disasters. But ICE is out of control. They have an American body count. They have injured and wrongfully shot others. They have 2 agents that are being investigated for perjury, and their leadership attacks anyone involved in an altercation with ICE as domestic terrorists before they even know the information. This is a group that thinks they can barge into an American's home with an administrative warrant. We have to stand up for them, and Democrats should be using their leverage to try to get reform and retraining.
So you're the new chairman of the DGA, as you alluded to. You had an op-ed in the New York Times talking about how the focus of the Democratic Party must return to creating better jobs, more affordable and accessible health care, safer roads and bridges, education, communities where people feel safer. I have to ask, it's no secret you're weighing a potential presidential run in 2028. Do you think Democrats right now are conveying the message that you laid out in that New York Times op-ed? And how do you respond to a Democratic voter who might say, I like your track record in a red state or red Commonwealth, but you're too soft-spoken?
Well, first, yes, that message is working. Look at Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, who ran great campaigns in races that should have been structurally difficult. And they both won by double digits. You know, the DGA and our candidates are winning.
Andy Bashar is the pleasant face to the establishment liberalism. Okay? He is in the tank for the establishment wing of the party. But because of his background being a blue governor, an seemingly uncompromising blue governor in a red state, he gets to be like the principal defender of the Spanbergers of the Democratic Party, and that's what he's doing here, right? He is advocating from a position of real influence too, right? Because of the reasons that I just mentioned. He is advocating for the establishment, neoliberal, Democratic wing of the party, saying like, we need more CIA agents, basically. You have to treat this with the same response that you treat like a Gavin Newsom, right? Gavin Newsom says this stuff in a deep blue state. And therefore it's easier to fucking disparage. But when Andy Bashar says this, he's saying this from a red state. So obviously people pay attention to it. He probably is for this reason, he's probably one of the scariest individuals that can make this argument, a convincing argument that you have to do more moderate centrism. You have to just reform ICE, not abolish it, all this stuff. Because, see, I'm in a red state. I'm obviously dominant in a red state. And the reason why I'm dominant in a red state is because I compromise on these issues, right? Except the reality of the matter is, the reason why he's dominant in his state is because he's a dynastic name in the state. Like, his father was also a recognizable individual. That's part of the reason why he's allowed to be an uncompromising figure of sorts, and has developed he's developed enough like voter loyalty. People like his services, his constituent services. His narrative doesn't actually work in all these other states. Okay?
Everywhere. For me, I believe that the American people want stability, that Donald Trump is exhausting. Many Americans feel like the pendulum swung too far during the Biden administration and has swung way too far during the Trump administration. And what they want is an America
a reasonable, moderate centrist,
where they can wake up every morning and not be worried about its future. And I think they want leadership that's focused on them, on whether they make enough money to not only afford their groceries, but take their kids on that vacation that they went on as kids. That young couple wants to be able to afford their first home around the same age as their parents. People want to feel safe in their communities, believe their kids are going to great public schools. Those are the types of things that I think are not only appealing to the American people, but maybe can help us heal, to recognize that most of our...
Okay, it's fucking bullshit. All right. Hakeem Jeffries asked point blank about Bernie Sanders endorsing progressive challengers to House races. He's going to have a bad argument here as well. Now, of course, before we get to that, I do want to talk about a complimentary piece to this conversation that is taking place right now. The New York Times went and asked a bunch of Democratic Party voters, lifelong Democratic Party voters, people who voted for the Democrats in the past, how they feel about the current state of affairs in the Democratic Party. And I think it's very interesting because there are a lot more people in the base.
Do you have one last question?
There are a lot more people in the base of the Democratic Party who have opinions. Breaking Tucker detained in Israel. I'm gonna fly out to Israel right now so they can fucking detain me and then hopefully kill me in prison, in an Israeli prison. Oh my God, chatters. I know. Okay? I fucking know. You want to know why I know? Because I of course, this is a huge story. It's literally in the fucking look. Read the pinned. Read the pinned statement. We are aware Tucker Carlson has been detained. We are aware of the situation in Israel and Iran. Please stop. You're not breaking anything. You're just breaking my will to live. The only thing you are breaking is my will to survive. Okay? Did you know? Did you? I did. Anyway, as I was saying, the complimentary piece to this is the New York Times piece that I would like to get to. Does anyone have the link for that? Maybe you can send me a link that I actually want to see for once. Okay? That could be nice. Dude, I know about the ICE thing. We watched it yesterday with Wajahat Ali and Hakeem Jeffries. Yes. You need a list on screen? No, I don't. You want to know why? Because nobody reads anything. Okay? Nobody reads anything. The people that come in to spam whatever is happening come in with good intentions, but unfortunately they are illiterate. Okay? So it doesn't matter. Thank you for the link, guys. But the reality is I've tried all of these different methods. I've tried all these different methods to be like, how do we do this? How do we get people to be understanding of like what I've covered thus far, what I will eventually cover, and people just come in and they're like, I don't know how to read, dude. I don't even know how to fucking type shit. I don't even know how I'm illiterate. I don't even know how I actually sent you this breaking news. Tucker Carlson has been detained shit. Anyway, so we're going to get to the New York Times piece. What word would you use to describe the Democratic Party? Okay, this is an interactive piece from the New York Times. And virtually every single person from every age group that they asked this question to said the same shit. Michael, 56, book dealer, paralyzed. Terrell, 68, retired. Sold out. Afraid. Denise, 57. Account manager. This is an opinion editorial piece called America in Focus. And the main takeaway was show up for us. 13 Democratic voters on Trump, ICE, and their frustrations with the Democratic Party. Donald Trump's second presidency has remade American life in just a year. Many Democrats and others worry about the erosion of civil rights, cuts to social safety net, and the significant aggressive increase in deportations across the country. Amid major debates among activists, pundits, and elected officials about what direction the party should take, Times Opinion assembled 13 Democratic and Democratic-leaning voters to ask how the party is handling the moment, what changes and reprioritizations they want to see, and what kind of Democrats are standing out. Participants in our group weren't unclear about what the party stands for, the greater good and the protection of civil rights, but many also expressed dissatisfaction with a lack of resolve this past year during shutdown fights as well as more broadly. Again, every single pressure point that I have fucking yelled at the Democrats over, these guys also feel the same way. And these guys aren't Hasanabi heads. This is the New York Times, people. This is the establishment newspaper. It's not like we're not reading Jacobin, okay? We're reading the New York Times. I need you to understand. Yeah, they're too young to be Hasanabi heads. Even recognizing that there isn't much Democrats can do out of power, people wanted more action and more aggression, especially if and when the Democrats take power again. You will hear the same exact sentiment that we express in here every single day being expressed by people who are nowhere near the demographics of being in this community. They're not card-carrying Democratic Socialists of America party members. But they share the same enmity and the same anger that we all do, okay? In particular, they wanted candidates who were young, progressive, and from a more modest or working class background with clear and simple messages. And as far as the Democrats who are standing out to these people, Jasmine Crockett, Pete Buttigieg, Zohran Mamdani, Gavin Newsom, many of them are the ones who've made a point in appearing in combative media environments, invoking a famous Michelle Obama quote, after the past few years, these voters no longer want a party that goes high. Okay? So these are the participants. There's like two 36-year-olds in there. Okay? One 29-year-old in there, Arizona, Asian, independent, computer science. 33, Mike is from North Carolina, white, Democrat, telecoms. Okay? There's a 33-year-old black Democrat voter, career coach from Michigan. But here is the first question that they ask. Fill in the blank for me. I'm feeling bleep about the way things are going in the country these days. Okay? Confused about the direction the country is going. Frustrated, upset and concerned, discouraged, strongly concerned, terrified and angry, disappointed, pessimistic. I was going to say frustrated, horrified, tired and sad and upset. Now, this makes sense. When the Republicans are in charge, of course, Democrats are going to say this kind of stuff. Anybody have a positive word? No, I don't. No, absolutely not. These are tough words, Candy. Let me start with you. You said frustrated. Tell me why. I know people who are immigrants, so just what's going on with immigration and even being myself a U.S. citizen, I'm concerned about getting pulled over and shot and killed, or one of my family members is going to get discriminated against. I'm scared to leave my home. I already work at home. Now I feel like I have to stay here because I'm so scared. People feel paralyzed because of the ICE activities that are taking place all around the country, right? Have any other people have had an experience like Candy's? My family's all immigrants. We're all citizens, but I worry about my parents going out. They learned English later in their lives. I've heard that ICE is near where we live. I'm wondering if I have to have them carry their passports around when they need to go get groceries and things like that. Lauren from Iowa says, I have family members who are immigrants. That concerns me that even though they're citizens, they could be out doing normal day-to-day things, especially with the kids in tow, and just be yanked off the street, and we wouldn't be able to intervene in any way. Yeah, I just feel we're at the point now that we're being treated like animals. I'm Puerto Rican. I speak full Spanish, so sometimes I'm scared to go out and speak my native language. My mother, I'm afraid for her because she's older. They might just judge her by the way she looks, so I'm very, very frustrated. Moderator says, I want to hear from some other folks. Like, what was on your mind when you said all the words that people said, discouraged, frustrated, terrified, etc.? People who are maybe not immigrants, but minorities and things like that are just being targeted. There's a lot in my community about ICE coming and pulling over people, and it's disheartening, actually. Christian, you said discouraged. One, a lot of the economic policies that have been put in place, looking at the job market, looking at the numbers that just came out today, worst number in years, it feels just economically, there's no real light at the end of the tunnel. The immigration policies are also a disaster, and they're inhumane. Socially, some people have just embraced being blatantly racist, whether it's towards immigrants, whether it's towards African Americans. It's been normalized. Not to say it ever fully went away, but we've just regressed. Katie says, I wake up in the morning and I look at my phone and it's another headline. I saw something on Facebook the other day that was from The Onion, and I had to double check to make sure that that was where it came from, because in reality that we're living right now, it's hard to tell the difference between real life and satire, which is not a good place to be in. I would say that I've been discouraged since 2016, Trump's first term. Nothing has changed since then. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. Now people are being shot in the street, and it's like, well, how far is it going to go now? It's just not right. Until about 10 years ago, I used to think that things would be a little better every year or over time. Now it just seems, for the most part, the government is putting into place policies that are meant to take advantage of people who need the most help and to benefit the people who are well off. How do you get ahead when this is the situation? How do you, Kaya? How do you get ahead when this is the situation, huh? How? Oh, you like being noticed. Is that what it is? That's what it is. Look at her tail. Look at her little tail wag. You just like being noticed. This is how we get ahead. Hello. Hello. Do we still fully don't know what's happening in the concentration camps, and they're literally destroying cameras and videos on hard drives? I know. She wants the soundboard. Here, look at this. Kaya, place. I now officially have a place button. Who's your little lady? Okay. Come here. Come here. Little butt scratches. Hello. 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 He can't keep getting away with it. Yeah, finally I do. Now I officially have a button where I electrocute Kaya. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Would have been a good edgelord. Anyway, I feel the same way. I feel sorry for the people that are going through this in their lives. I know it because I'm fair. It's not just right that we rule by the. So everybody agree characterization. The question is, America's best days behind us, ahead of us, or happening now? Everybody said, wait, is it effing again? Oh, I didn't even realize that it was effing. I'm being throttled again. Kaya's revenge. Okay, you got to get out of there, though. Come on. Back up. Back up, lady. ISP hates the soundboard too. Yeah, your voice gets wobbly and laggy, but we never drop or anything. Okay, good. You can't stand there, lady. You can't stand there because unfortunately, I don't want to drive over you. You use too much power on the place button. Yeah, to electrocute it with the Tesla coils. It fried my electricity grid. They all say it's behind us. None of them says America's best days are ahead of us. Once he's out of office, what's going to happen on some of the things that people have been bringing up tonight? Immigration, economic policy, women's rights, gay rights. I say it entirely depends on what the party has power, on what party has power and who gets elected. I don't know if we're going to be living in a pendulum situation for years and years and years after this, where one party does these things and the next party tries to undo it, and on and on. My concern is that the things that the Republicans are doing now, they're going to be hard to undo. Yeah, it depends on who comes into power next, I guess. But if they don't wield it as brazenly as he's wielding it to undo some of the things that he's doing without asking the voters what we want to do or asking anybody besides just whatever he wants to do, the Democrats are too afraid to do anything, I feel like. So if they come into power, they've got to do something. Okay. Michael from Pennsylvania is now out. Michael from North Carolina is now in, for the record. It's over. We have a new Michael now. And you will see more and more of Michael from North Carolina cooking in ways that Michael from Pennsylvania never could. Like, if we're being real, RIP to Michael from Pennsylvania. Long live the new Michael. Michael 2, Revenge of the Michaels. Yeah. Shots fired? Yeah, shots fired. Okay. How often do you feel like you're thinking about politics and thinking about Donald Trump? I mean, the Donald Trump and talk about politics, I'm skipping. Do you talk to somebody about politics at least once a day? All day for me because of Instagram. Every day, Instagram, TikTok. I used to be pretty apolitical. I wasn't really interested in as much. And then 2024 came around. I just found myself super interested, and I'm following state reps and senators and things that I was never really into much before. I keep up with it every day, but don't necessarily talk about it every day. For the most part, everyone in my life I know is reading the same stuff I am. No point in preaching to the choir. How do you feel Trump's second term compares to his first? Worse, definitely worse. When you imagine a potential second term, it's worse than I expected. I didn't think it would be this bad because I thought there'd be checks and balances like we were always told. Like, basically, most of the things that you are feeling, these people are also feeling. It's very common. This is a very common feeling. This is why I always say, you're not alone. And I have experienced this in the real world, where I go to these events, I go to these protests, I go to these marches, I go to like places where liberals congregate, right? And not even just liberals, but like independents, older people in general. And they have the same exact animosity, both towards the way that the Republicans are handling the situation, hatred towards Donald Trump, but then anger and resentment towards the Democrats as well. Okay? This is important to understand. It's important to understand because you're not alone in this anger. And yet there is an entire media ecosystem dedicated to telling you, no, things are great. The Democrats are actually going to win by small margins, and then they're going to do business as usual politics, and you're going to like it. We're going to move and pivot towards moderation again and again and again. If you pivot towards moderation at a time when Republicans are going far right, then all you have is a center right to far right existence. We cannot do that. We must do away with this mentality. Okay? And trust me, the average liberal sentiment is closer to yours than you ever could have imagined. In 2016, resistance liberalism took hold, it took root, and therefore by 2020, Bernie Sanders' movement and momentum was quickly packed up. By the time the primaries were in effect, a lot of the establishment liberals, establishment Democrats were like leaning into the Bernie-crat message, some of those policies, but they didn't actually have any investment in it whatsoever. And Obama came in and he cleared the field for Joe Biden, and we all know the rest is history, right? So there are a lot of these people that if you talk to your liberal, centrist, lifelong Democrat voter parents and people in your life, you will realize that many of them, even if they say like they like Gavin Newsom or whatever, they are demanding more from the Democrats. They want more from the Democrats. They want the Democrats to actually fight. Some of them think, okay, well, Gavin Newsom is putting on a fight. Jasmine Crockett is putting on a fight because they're aesthetically presenting themselves as putting on a fight. Okay? But many of them want more in terms of policy. It is upon us to explain to them that it's not just about the aesthetics of putting on a fight. It's not just about the style, but it's also about the substance. Putting on a substantive fight means having a more radical vision for change, being unafraid to push the Democrats in the appropriate direction to win elections. Okay? And this is, this was a very important takeaway. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Democratic Party. If you had to use one or two words to describe the Democratic Party, what would you pick? Spineless, more complacent than I thought they would be. Okay? Paralyzed, afraid, incompetent, I guess suffocated or given up. Our local government's trying to do a lot, but then in the House and the Senate, they're getting voted against the Republican majority. So, sold out. As a 68-year-old. A 68-year-old saying sold out. I just feel we were never being governed. We're being looted. The Democratic Party lines their pockets and they created this mess. I do like what Trump's doing in terms of the tariffs. They've been milking us for God knows when. Now, that last part is not so great. Okay? What other words would people use to describe the Democrats? Sellouts and suckers. Immobilized. Can I say no balls? No cojones. I will say that there are a large number of young Democrats that are really starting to climb the ranks in the party that are motivated. I'm hoping that word starts to take over a little more. Like, this is like, I mean, I could have, This is if I got an article written like this, people would understandably say I paid for it. Like, these are paid actors. So I'm glad that it's coming from the establishment newspaper, the New York fucking Times. Okay? I said this tracks 100% with what I've seen on the streets, from the No Kings protest to the resistance against ICE. People are very mad at their party. Dems on here are oblivious to the anger. They're speaking into an echo chamber of consultants who tell them what they want to hear. Okay? And it's not just consultants. Matt Iglesias wrote this in October, admitting the groups is something he heard in Washington. Now he writes about the groups for his Washington audience. He doesn't realize he's building the echo chamber. This is a major problem. The Democratic Party's electeds want to hear from people that agree with them. And there are plenty of pliant consultants and analysts that will give them what they want to hear. Matt Iglesias is one of the worst versions of this. Okay? The DNC has bubbled themselves in to this weird echo chamber where they are constantly demanding a steady flow of policy papers and focus groups that tell them the people demand a moderate agenda. The people demand a moderate agenda. And it's fucking crazy because that moderate agenda is seen as dog shit because it failed.
The leader of the Democrats in the House is saying something that is in complete contravention to an overwhelming majority of his own voter base, let alone the growing number of independents that are leaving this party for the very attitude that we're talking about with the Hassan thing. The entitlement, the entitlement to anti-democracy. Like sit with that for a second. You have Hakeem Jeffries there, who is getting pissy that Wajahat Ali is trying to press him on the fact that he's taking blood money from a genocidal right-wing group, when you have a poll from around 6 months ago at this point in Gallup that showed that it's like something like 4%, 5%, single digits of Democratic voters that support Israel's military action in Gaza. The overwhelming majority are opposed to it. The majority believe it's a genocide.
Yeah. Exactly. We watched that Wajahat Ali debate between him and Hakeem Jeffries the other day. It's disastrous. It's fucking disastrous. Cinemarxism is right. He says, it's actually so frustrating how often so many conversations, even on the left, assume that the Democrats are even trying to represent voters' wishes. They don't represent voters. They represent the capitalists. The sooner we realize and build power for ourselves, the better. This is why it's important to actually establish outside pressure mechanisms, whether it be labor unions, community organizing, tenants unions. By the way, yeah, shouts out to the new initiative in Kansas City for tenants unions. Marxism is reminding me of that. But it's true. It's true. The DSA is another component of this as well. I'm never going to disparage people that are trying to actively reshape the Democratic Party in a direction that is beneficial for the working class's interests. Okay, we got to do away with business as usual politics in the Democratic Party. We got to do away with establishment neoliberal politics in general. It is completely ridiculous. They are the reason. You should remind people that they are the reason why Kamala Harris lost, okay? Like, Kamala Harris lost for this reason. They did it. They did everything right, okay? They followed Matt Iglesias' agenda to a T. They followed David Shorism. They followed Jonathan Chait. All of these guys were writing think pieces on how wonderful the Democrats were operating, how great Kamala Harris was in their pivot to centrism. Now, of course, after the spectacular failure, they're trying to rewrite history to make it seem like they didn't pivot to the fucking middle hard enough. They did. They did. They did everything right, and they still lost every single fucking swing state. So clearly, that's not working. Okay, it's the often misattributed Einstein quote, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing a million times over and expecting different results. That's literally just the Democratic Party's politics, doing it over and over again, pivoting to the center over and over again, pivoting to the center endlessly and expecting a victory work for Unite here, the labor union. I work in the back office, but we have periodical meetings about political strategy, and my union leadership right now are way, way, way more radicalized than what they were doing in 2024. My union president said moderate Democrats aren't enough, and we need even more power outside the Democratic Party. Good. Because major labor unions, let's be real, have also been sheepdogs for the establishment Democrats for the most part, and I'm glad that that's changing too. Good. It's a necessity. Like, no disrespect. I love the labor unions. I ride for the labor unions, but it's not a secret that the labor unions have also kind of been on the Democratic Party agenda, and they've lost the rank and file whipping power that they have for that reason. Now, not all unions are the same. I'm, of course, talking about like IBEW, the rank and filers that have moved in the rightward direction, voting for fucking the Republican Party and voting for Trump in particular. Same with the Teamsters, where there's a lot of rank and filers that have also done that. Like, part of that reason is because the Democrats are not seen to be defending the rights of the working class, the labor unions in general, their interests. And I've thought a lot about this, okay? I have thought a lot about this. Now you speak of labor union correctly. No more authoritarian, Hassan, please. Wait, what? I don't know what you're saying. Anyway, I thought a lot about this. There was a MS Now contributor that actually spoke on this, where he was like, Joe Biden was one of the best fucking Democrats for labor unions overall. He like walked a picket line, all true things. But why is it that the rank and filers are still hyper-focusing on culture war narratives and operating under the assumption that the Democrats are no longer invested in defending labor unions and union power in general, or defending labor power in general? And that's because regular people obviously, understandably, measure the Democratic Party as one big institution. They measure the Democratic Party on the Democratic Party's weakest members. Because at the end of the day, the rotating villain structure that exists within the party and the lack of interest in whipping those people at the top of the party is what causes there to be a diluted and much weaker agenda for labor unions. If you don't get card check at the end of the day, for example, right, something that unions have demanded for a very long time, it doesn't matter if Joe Biden is walking the picket line. It's symbolically important. But at the end of the day, if you don't get card check, because there's plenty of spoilers within the Democratic Party's infrastructure, the Democratic Party's ecosystem, then all people see is you not getting these, important pieces of legislation across the finish line. From their perspective, you didn't do that for them, right? You didn't do that for them at all. So why the fuck should they think that you're pro-labor? It makes sense. They don't make the harm reduction argument internally. They never make the harm reduction argument. Most normal people do not think about harm reduction. This is something that I'm trying to get across, right? They want an agenda that you are championing to go across the finish line, okay? It's that simple. We got to do away with the rotating villains. We have to whip them. We have to punish them. We have to punish them if they step out of line. We have to have more organizational discipline within the structure of the Democratic Party, even for the modest social democratic gains. Okay? That's it. And a big component of doing away with that ecosystem is by addressing this false notion that the only way to have this big tent Democratic Party is by running establishment candidates, or by running candidates that actually adorn the moniker of progress and then do away with that progress when they're in power. The greatest example I can give you is Marie Concentration Camp Perez, a person that literally ran on like a Justice Democrat style campaign and then quickly became a part of the Problem Solvers Caucus, a self-declared group of individuals that play the role of spoilers from within the Democratic Party. Okay? John Fetterman is another great example of this. John Fetterman saying, well, I flipped the red area. Yeah, bitch, you flipped it by lying about being progressive. It's crazy. You proved that you don't actually have to look like you're compromised. You won with a progressive campaign, a straightforwardly progressive campaign, even when you had fucking brain damage. Like, people literally were like, I will vote for a stroke victim as long as they are progressive enough. And for some, maybe it was because you look the part of an ogre in Western Pennsylvania. And they were like, oh, he looks like me, he talks like me. I don't really care if he's actually, woke or whatever. But the reality of the matter is, you were woke when you ran. You were woke when you won. When you ran and when you won. It's that simple. Consider this analogy. You and your family share a car. A family friend asks to borrow the car. You say no. Your family gives him the keys anyway. He brings it back and the brakes were swapped. You say you should pay to fix the brakes. Some of your family members say, let it go. The friend takes the car again, T-bones the minivan, kills the family. Insurance makes you pay. Hashtag DNC. Dark. My rich liberal wine aunt who campaigned for Hillary in 2016 was wearing an Obama 2028 shirt at Christmas, texted me and asked to borrow my copy of the People's History of the United States and is posting Woody Guthrie Coates songs on her Facebook. The tide is shifting. Yes, it's happening all around us. I swear to God, it's not me on copium. The Democrats in charge are not responding to it, but the pressure is there. The momentum is there. The momentum is on our side because people have seen far too many losses at this point. It's getting there where people are like, okay, well, we did centrism over and over again. You sold us this notion, this false notion that centrism is going to actually bring us electoral victories, and it only brought us electoral defeat. I think the second loss to Donald Trump really worked to destroy the second defeat that the establishment Democrats had against Trump as well, when Trump was even more incompetent in the first round, made Democrat voters realize that the pivot to the center narratives are just simply a failure. And they're seeing it on their own, by the way. It's not like they're seeing it because they all magically became Hasanabi heads, right? They're not watching me. They might not even fucking like me if they know who I am. Many of them don't. And yet they agree with what we have seen for years, okay? Because at the end of the day, if there's one principle that motivates every single person from the blue dog Democrats down to the fucking Maoist third worldists who don't even want to vote, it is that they do not want to see Republican fascists in power, okay? That is the one uniting principle that brings all of us together from all different walks of life, from different ethnic backgrounds, from different lived experiences. Fuck it, even people who are like small business tyrants, right? There are people who are responsible for the wages of others, who are a part of the ownership class in some meaningful capacity, who still go, I don't want a fucking Republican in charge, man. It is too much instability. It's too much violence. I don't want to see it. That's it. Hasanabi heads, we need a better name. Yeah, parasocialists. That is the one uniting principle. We do not want Republicans elected, okay? That's part of the reason why a lot of these fucking centrist neoliberals will consistently say that I want Republicans elected because, it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for me to farm fucking subscriptions or some shit. Like they have to like find a way to be like, Hassan actually doesn't hate Republicans. We, on the other hand, who tell you every 4 years that we have to become more like the Republicans in order to defeat the Republicans, we actually truly hate the Republicans. It's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. My resentment for the Democrats come from their closeness to the Republicans, okay? It's bad politics and it's bad policy. I don't want Republicans in charge. I don't want Republicans to ever win another election ever again. Centrists do not care about that. It's ridiculous. But fear not. It seems like a lot of people are also on the same wavelength. Some of them might be misguided and think that, Gavin Newsom represents that change. And, we must do away with that notion. I think, like, when push comes to shove and when people actually realize that Gavin Newsom is a representative of that establishment wing of the party, they will move away from that. Okay? But getting back to this article now, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Democratic Party. We already covered this. What other words? Sellouts. We already covered this. During the recruitment for this group, everyone identified in some way as being a Democrat or leaning towards Democrats. Tell me, what does the Democratic Party stand for? So I grew up in Pittsburgh, very blue-collar town. My whole family was that way. But then even as I got old enough to make my own choices, I just identified more with the Democratic Party because I didn't feel very Republican. I grew up in a conservative household, not a liberal household. I've always felt like more than not that the Democrats supported policy programs that were for the greater good that would help move people up and forward. Whereas Republicans, more than not, just said, well, you're on your own. The Republicans, really just want to help the rich get richer. For me, it's always been more about the greater good and being accepting of everyone, no matter who you are. There's a big civil rights component. One analogy I've heard is that Democrats would rather 10 kids get free lunch than, say, even if 9 don't need it. But then that one needs it versus the Republicans will say, oh, well, there's 9 kids who are getting free lunch. They'd rather the one person starve. It's a pretty interesting way to put it. But yeah, people use words like spineless, weak, scared, afraid. What are they afraid of? It seems like to me they're scared to speak up. I've heard Democrats speak up when they're interviewing these senators on television about the killings in Minnesota. I mean, they are speaking their mind. They can talk the talk, but can they walk the walk? I'm hoping that they will. The Democrats are really good at speaking when they want to, but they want to act like they care. But at the end of the day, for example, when they gave in to giving ICE money, they're suckers. They get suckered in really easily by the Republicans. The Republicans called them a couple of words, and the Democrats believe it. I feel like the Democratic Party always tries to take the high road and do it the right way. And the other side is going so scorched earth that it takes so much more to try to do it the right way. I'm not saying go low, but I mean, at some point, you got to meet them a little bit in the middle. You have to be a little bit more aggressive with your message. I don't know if that's complacency or some of these people, like, these people are so close to understanding that the Democrats represent controlled opposition party and that we must do away with those who actually actively undermine the interests of democracy. They're so close. Because remember, the starting point for a lot of people is liberalism. Liberal. That's just how it is. A lot of people start off as liberals. Many of you started off as liberals. Every single one of you, as a matter of fact, myself included. We had some kind of start point where we were liberals. And we moved away from that, slowly but surely, through observation, through observing reality, through recognizing that the Democrats actually do not present the change necessary. What have people seen from the Democratic Party over the last year since Trump has been in office? We saw Melissa Hortman and her husband get murdered in their home, and no Republican really batted an eye compared to the response that Charlie Kirk got. And you see, again, our own president is lying and spewing hate every day. If I were a Democrat, I would probably be pretty scared about the things that I said, too. I have a lot of respect for Jasmine Crockett and Pete Buttigieg. I love them. They are really standing firm. Oh, God. Bruh. Democrats have folded a little bit lately to move things along. Unfortunately, not in the way that we would like, because they don't want to see all these people not getting paid in a shutdown and our country not moving forward. Not saying it's 100% right, but it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations because they are largely out of power. Bruh. Don't give them that. Don't give them that. Has anybody been following elections that have happened over the past year? Democrats have flipped seats that were Republican. I know Texas one just got flipped, and they have been by large margins. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the Republicans are about to rig the next election because that's what's happening right now. True. How do you square the negative feelings towards Democrats with the fact that they're winning these elections? I square it because I feel like they're always playing catch up. It's true. So yeah, they've won some seats, but people are upset about Trump, and so they're voting for Democrats. I still don't think they're going to take the House next year. They would have never considered redistricting until the Republicans did it. Not saying that they should have, but it's like, what else are Republicans going to do first? Oh, that's so perfect. What would you say are the Democratic Party's strengths? They got really good health policies. They're for the greater good, all this stuff. How would you then respond to what somebody else said? They're out of power. They don't have the White House or the Senate or Congress. So what are they supposed to do? It's definitely a good point. However, you don't just lie down and say, oh, well, sorry, we can't. Yes, we don't have it, but that doesn't mean that they can't fight for it. And it's scary with some of the retaliation and things that are happening, but they need to stand firm. See? When you say you want to see the Democrats stand up and fight, what does that look like? Just getting the message right. You hear the Republican side, they'll spew nonsense about everything. And I'm not saying spew nonsense, but they can't get a clear, cohesive message out there, and they don't all stand together on that message. So no one knows, hey, we're fighting for you for this. They just think, hey, you're just locking the whole government up because you're being stubborn. Then they lose steam, and then they lose their people behind them. They just go belly up on the government shutdown. Oh, my God. There it is. There it fucking is. The whole blaming the Democrats thing was just a big Fox News story of let's blame the Democrats. But they had some real bargaining power there, and they just pushed in the chips and said, no, it's all right. I don't want to play this game anymore. It's like, no, if the Republicans are going to play this game, you got to play the game. We can't just sit around and not play. California's doing it the right way. They're like, okay, well, if you're going to take the seats from us, we're going to give ourselves more seats to counteract what you're doing. That's what we should be doing. This is the last thing I'm going to read from this article before I move on. Has anybody seen anything from the Democrats? Any candidate or public figure or someone locally that's made you say, oh, yeah, we need more of this. This is what we should be going for. Zoran Mamdani. Clear, concise messaging. It's exactly what everybody wants. It helps everybody. It's the perfect messaging because it's clear and concise, unlike Democrats. Just like Bernie. Bernie said the same things since the 80s. You've got to tax the billionaires. You've got to tax the upper class. He's never changed. That's the messaging. You've got to drill it into them. And Zoran did it. Man, it's beautiful. And then Diane comes in from the top rope, 72 years old, white, Democrat, retired, says, Mike said it pretty clearly, and I can't really think of anything to add to that. Then they ask who else. Someone says Isaiah Martin. He doesn't hold back. He just went on Jubilee and went against like 20 conservatives. And to me, they got all embarrassed. He's asking them questions, and then they get tongue twisted. They can't answer the question. Pete Buttigieg is a big one for me. Jasmine Crockett, she tells it like it is. I was going to say Mike said it pretty spot on. When people are saying what Mike said, do y'all mean you like Mamdani and Bernie? You like the idea of simple messaging or all of the above? Panth comes in and says, the Democratic Party needs to embrace voices that resonate with people. When you hear Bernie, he has energy because he really believes in what he's saying. It's the same reason Trump resonates with people, because he acknowledges some of the struggles that they're facing. Sure, he blames the wrong groups, but at least he voices it. This is literally, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm walking away. I'm walking away, dude. I'm done. There's nothing else I need to fucking say. We're here.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
This is the New York Times. These are random Democratic Party voters. And it seems like Allah has awakened them. Not just to the evil doings of Israel and the United States, but specifically the evil doings of establishment Democrats. Okay? Straight up. The wind is on our fucking sails. I have never felt this hopeful. I have never felt this excited about what we could potentially accomplish within the confines of permissibility, within the confines of at least one of the two major powers in this country, major political planks in this country. The Democrats are weak, and we are closer to seizing power than ever before. This doesn't mean that the Democratic Party is going to become a socialist party. Okay? I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply stating that in order to unlock class consciousness and in order to achieve the modicum of revolutionary potential that exists in the heart of Americans, the American working class in particular, we have an opportunity more than ever before to actually put forth a much bolder vision, an agenda that truly changes the dynamic of business as usual politics. And the way to do that runs through the Democratic Party at least, is by putting socialists into office, and to show people that when socialists are in office, they actually make the necessary changes. Shut the fuck up. Democrats are not the working class party. What the fuck are you on about? Bruh. Is that what I said? Is that what I said? Did I say that? Did you mishear? Did you not hear the part where I said the exact opposite? Why is it that so many of you come in here and refuse to listen to the words that I am telling you? Okay? Okay, I was a bit trolling. Sorry. Okay, take an hour off. Take an hour off, chatter.
Holy Toledo.
Jesus Christ, dude. Jesus Christ. I had to blammo this chatter. Blammo. Blammo. Just joined in chat, already getting lectured. Yeah, well, sometimes you fucking need it, okay? Sometimes you need it. I'm gay and Lebanese. I mean, come on. Come on, dude. I'm gay and Lebanese. Okay, that was crazy. What do you mean? Yeah, crazy good. I want old Hassan back, the one who talked about politics and nothing else and didn't use a soundboard. Yeah, well, we're moving on to this is a new direction, okay? This is a direction where...
Legalize comedy.
That's right. Comedy is legal now.
Legalize comedy.
Yeah! Yeah!
And pussy too.
All right. I'm loving the sound surprise. It feels like when you would pull a 10-10 top of the hour ad break. Yeah, that's right. We need a PBS one too. On board haters are revisionist. I agree. Billionaires propped up 20 plus abundance groups. Liberal media figures embarrassed themselves, saying the party needed to moderate. It didn't work because people are smarter than the elites think, says Joe Road. And it's true. All these guys, basically all they did in the aftermath of this spectacular defeat that everyone experienced, that everyone was frustrated by, they turned around and said, actually, guys, we didn't go to the center hard enough. We didn't go to the right hard enough. Okay. And then they basically, the Democrats basically decided we shouldn't do anything. We should not even like try to protest against the Republicans and their agenda because we'll cause people to understand that the Republicans are bad. And we can just turn around and say, see, we're a much better option. And we can do business as usual politics all again and eke out a marginal victory. Well, it turns out people are still very fucking frustrated. And they're not just frustrated at the Republicans, which they obviously understandably despise, but they're frustrated at the Democrats also not doing anything to stop the Republicans. Anyway, the Democratic Party doesn't do the same. In 2024, they were saying the economy is fine. For a lot of people, it was, but there were a lot of people who were seeing their prices go up and were struggling. And the stock market doing well didn't mean anything. I don't agree with everything Bernie says or everything Mamdani says, but they're similar to Trump in that if they come into office, I know they're going to do something. It might not be what you want, but you see action being taken, and the Democrats are not like that by and large. Oh, this guy's not even a fucking Mamdana supporter. He's not even a fucking Bernie-crat guy. And even he recognizes we need change. We need change. We need to move in the appropriate direction. None of this like marginal business as usual politics, this fucking day late, dollar short politics that we've seen from the fucking Democratic Party. Is there anybody else you've seen, Democratic candidate figure, who excites you? I still don't agree with everything she's doing, but AOC is a well-known name and seems to be fighting against Trump. Mickey Sherrill just won governor. Gavin Newsom and JB Pritzker, they're speaking out strongly against Trump. Even people who are not socialists or anything like that are just like, I kind of want this. I kind of want this because it's good. It's good. It's actually helpful. Like I want them to do things. I want them to do something, anything, please, for the love of Christ. Meanwhile, what are people doing on the other side? What are people doing on the establishment liberalism side? I'm going to do a quick, brief shout out.
Do you trust that he would not nuke Israel?
Let's bring back my favorite anti-Semite destroyer, okay? Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, who talks very famously about the enmity caused against Jews in Tsarist Russia. His speech is important to remember because it is prescient even now. It's something that I have brought forward many times over. All of this enmity is a simple distraction. It is. Anyway, there's a longer video on Twitter if you want to go and watch it, but it basically shows like my arguments against anti-Semitism over and over again, regardless of the fact that like establishment liberals, at least on the on this platform that we're on, spend a good deal of time talking about how devastating people like myself are, and unfortunately, they're not invested in any sort of serious change. What is this? This one? Yeah, I'm not going to play the whole clip. I've played it too many times. So, more proof that the normal libs are on your side with the stupid election discourse?
We're going to show you, which is why I have a question, which is a question I have directly for California Governor Gavin Newsom, which is if J.D. Vance is the vice president, if J.D. Vance is the presidential nominee in 2028, would Gavin Newsom vote for Hassan Piker? I want to know. I think inquiring minds want to know. Gavin Newsom, who next person, listen, the next time a right-wing pundit.
That's actually a really interesting question.
Then sits
Because
down.
I think Pearl Mania is not like the biggest fan of what I said there. But I like
Gavin
that question.
Newsom on Gavin Newsom's own podcast. They should ask Gavin Newsom, would you vote for Hassan Piker? I think that is the direction we need to take this, because it was just stupid. It's just been a stupid thing all weekend. It was a hypothetical question asked on a podcast that was then clipped and then spread around everywhere to enrage people. Like Hassan didn't clip it. I've Had It podcast didn't clip it. It was a third party of people who don't like either of them who clipped it to then go, fuck you to everybody else, to then make everybody get enraged at each other so then everyone could have content to talk about. And then it gets thrown over into the streamerverse, and then all the streamers then clip it, and then they all have something to talk about. This way, nobody has to talk about what's actually happening in the world, which is that we are being run by a cabal of elite pedophiles.
I agree with this 100%, by the way. Ginger Michael from Pennsylvania is correct. And the people that clipped it would vote for J.D. Vance over you. Yeah, that's the other side of this that is ironic. The people that clipped it and spread it far and wide aren't even real Democrats. Many of them don't even live here. They're all fucking they're Euroids in general. And they just have a singular focus, Hassan derangement syndrome. Over and over again, they have demonstrated that they don't actually give a fuck about what's going on in American elections. They just want to act out the desires of their fucking sex pest cult leader, Destiny, right? They have literally said they would vote for Jeffrey Epstein over someone like myself. They've said that they would vote for Adolf Hitler or even Donald Trump over someone like myself. When you say stuff like that, you basically revealed that, like, you're not a serious contender. You're not serious about the moment that is ahead of us, right? All you care about is masquerading the personal animosity that your favorite cult leader has towards me, and masquerading that as like some kind of serious political disagreement. And that's precisely the reason why you see this kind of insanity over and over again. Remember, these are the people that were running around. These are the people that were fucking running around having conversations about how I am worse than Adolf Hitler for America.
I think Hassan is worse than Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it shows you, Hutch. That's what it shows you.
What is Jeffrey Epstein?
You did when you said I would vote for Epstein over fucking J.D. Vance.
Tell me, what is Jeffrey Epstein's policy platform?
Dude, you don't need.
That's a fair question, isn't it? Isn't that relevant to the analysis? I don't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein's politics. Would he push for a public option? Is he a Medicare for all kind of person? I don't know anything about his politics.
Yeah, you don't know anything about his politics other than the only thing Jeffrey Epstein is known for, which is being a fucking pedophile, bro. Are you fucking joking? Like, Jeffrey Epstein is known for one thing and one thing only: raping children. And this motherfucker is like, yeah, that's good enough for me. And he also loves Israel. So I guess that those are the two things that you care about as far as who you're going to fucking vote for.
I would not necessarily disqualify Jeffrey Epstein electorally. It's because first we would have to establish if he supports liberal democracy. Because the whole thing with Hassan is that he doesn't. And I had people in my own chat last night that thought I was being ridiculous. Why am I being ridiculous when we're talking about Hassan Piker?
Dude, you are. Snap out of it. Snap the fuck out of it, dumbass. The reason why even people that are in the edge communities that would normally agree with your sentiment are saying, dude, what the fuck are you saying? Like, what we are watching right now unfold with evil Northern Lion and all these other like adjacent orbiters of Sex Pestiny is this moment where they are expressing how unserious they are about American politics. I have long maintained the position that for these guys, they make it seem as though they're giving you like a political take, but all they're basically doing is using political disagreements as a way to just say Hassan is bad, okay? Hassan derangement syndrome. And I don't think Hutch is ever going to snap out of it. I don't think Destiny is ever going to snap out of it. But like their audiences are finally coming to that recognition that it's like, dude, Donald Trump is fucking kidnapping people and murdering American citizens that are trying to stop this kidnapping operation from taking place. And every single fucking moment of the day for you is spent talking about how Hassan is awful. Hassan is bad. At least he's out in the fucking streets. You ain't doing shit.
Do you trust that he would not nuke Israel? Do you trust that he would not help China invade Taiwan? I'm crazy for being worried about our fucking nation's secrets. If we gave power to Hassan.
Hassan isn't an all-powerful God, even as president. Like, they're trying to walk him off this ledge, right? They're trying to walk him off this ledge. There's still plenty in his community going, I don't. He'd give that shit up for a shiny new shock collar.
Piker?
Like, again, it's all drama. Even when he's being a fucking insane person, okay, there are still plenty of people that want to keep up this, like, no, you're doing the right thing method. Where they're trying to fucking literally say, like, no, Hassan would be far more devastating. Okay, well, I have my candidates, you know. You can look at who I'm working with, right? Who I'm working within the Democratic Party and make that assessment for yourself. Are these guys bad or do you like them? Obviously, the one that we can directly point to is Zoran Kwame fucking Mamdani, right? Do you like Zoran? Okay, well, I guess you don't have that big of a disagreement with me after all, right?
I'm the crazy one who's like, I don't know, what's Jeffrey Epstein's policy position when he glorifies the current Chinese Communist Party as like a model of government? I'm the crazy one? Somebody who idolizes Vladimir Lenin, and I'm the fucking crazy one because I don't want to fucking live under an authoritarian leftist regime?
Yes. All of this, like Hassan would give state secrets to China and shit like that, is literally the exact same shit that like Steven Crowder and them would say. These guys don't realize that they've actively radicalized themselves into taking on positions that are identical to the biggest fucking reactionaries out there. They don't realize it though, because this is what happens when you are singularly focused on expressing the enmity that your favorite fucking sex pest has. Like, you're fighting his battles and you don't even fucking realize it. Lenin is such an interesting sticking point for some reason. Yes, because these guys don't realize that they're completely trapped in this Western focus in politics where it's like Lenin, Karl Marx, these are terrifying people. They've killed quintillions of individuals. They've killed so many people. They're so ruthless. They're such tyrants. They don't understand. It's like they only have a very like America good approach to things. Yeah, Stalkman says he would vote for JD Vance over you.
For me personally, he would send me to the gulag, so I would vote for JD Vance.
Well, that's
over Hassan. For me personally,
hold on,
but
Dan
I would
be
understand
too. Wait, I'm starting to see Hassan's platform now. Yeah, I'm starting to get it.
So for most people, it might be better to be under Hassan, but for me specifically, I can't. I'm not going to vote for my oppressor.
This is like peeking into the other side where there's just like an insane approach. Like, they don't realize that I cover politics and these guys just cover me covering politics in a fucking negative framework. Hopefully a lot more people are waking up to that reality though. Ogreboy says, dumb fuck McGee takes this opportunity to speak on doing politics to talk about any guesses. That's right, Hassan. Amazingly, seeing as how he watches more Hassan than I do, he even fucks that assessment up. Shocking.
Destiny, is it necessarily bad to have political commentators that don't want to be engaged in actual politics? Yes, it is bad. Now, when I say actual politics, I don't mean they're running for office or they're like directly affiliated with a candidate. I mean, they're trying to get political power. Politics is about getting political power in your political system, right? Or influencing political power in your political system. So in a democracy, you want to be able to exert influence over lawmakers, over the president, over cabinet level officials, over executive agencies. Like, this is like politics, it's political power. And so somebody like Fuentes ideally would have a Groyper caucus in the House or the Senate, where the House would be amazing for Nick. That would be like his ideal. For somebody like Hassan doesn't care about politics per se. He just like talks about it and then.
I thought it was dangerous for America's future because I do actually directly correspond with candidates and, push for them to be elected. He goes back and forth on this nonstop, it seems. Because, I thought the danger that I represented to America was that I command a tremendous amount of fucking... I command a tremendous amount of political influence. I wield it dangerously. Now he's saying I don't fucking care about politics. I guess it's just it's just about whatever in that immediate moment, whatever reactionary garbage you can just toss out there. The enemy is both strong and weak at the same time. Now, of course, that's a strange thing to say about someone, especially like myself. I have candidates that are running for Senate, Democrats running for Senate. I have candidates running for, the mayor's office, right? Zoran Mamdani was one of them. I have opinions about how local governance, state governance should be run, and I'm trying to push for people to do it, both from my community and also people that I use to get elected. Use my community to get elected, right? So, what has Destiny done? On the other hand, nothing. He just fucking constantly is chirping about how I am a bad person. That's it. He spends basically every fucking waking moment just saying, when he's not procuring CSAM or not in a legal battle with his victims and undermining his victims and victim blaming in general, all he does is just fucking talk about how much I suck dick.
Makes money off of it. But he doesn't care to actually influence any of it or to try to get anybody elected. He doesn't want to wield any political power. He just kind of wants to talk about stuff all day. Now, in and of itself, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But the issue is that these things, to a lot of people, seem to overlap or they're hard to distinguish from one another. So then you end up in a world where people on the left look to Hassan as well, is this guy speaking for Democrats? And then people on the right can use Hassan as an attack vector.
The only thing that his community has done as far as projecting political power was to get Richie Torres to send a congressional letter to Amazon to get me deplatformed. The only fucking large leftist, progressive, Democrat content creator, Democrat adjacent content creator to get banned 5 days out from the general election. That was it. They sicked the ADL on my ass. They constantly try to get me deplatformed because they're super pro-Israel for some fucking weird reason. And right before the election, that was their big moment. Him and the other dipshit that I just showed you who said he would vote for J.D. Vance over me because he thinks I would put him in a fucking gulag have worked with senators like Tom Cotton, as a matter of fact, to try to get me deplatformed. The only thing that these guys have done, aside from revitalizing Nick Fuentes' career when he was deplatformed from every fucking outlet possible, okay, and trying to fuck other white nationalists on top of Nick Fuentes, the only thing that they've ever done is that. It's just pure spite. I hope people can fucking wake up to the reality that this isn't real politics, okay? This is just pure spite being expressed as though it's a political disagreement. Hyper-focusing on drama. Drama is much easier to pay attention to. Drama among streamers is much easier to pay attention to than the boring stuff. right? I'm in Hudge's community. He's been spiraling the last couple of months and conflating his personal vendettas with being in a political position. Some of us even bring Fred BLS data, and he'll refute it if it aligns with something you said. The vibes are not good over there at the moment. It's crazy. They think, and what's really crazy about it is if they had the fucking wherewithal to recognize where the political changes are happening within the base of the party, they would just shut the fuck up about constantly attacking me. And they would instead be like, oh no, we were there all along. We want, AOCs to run. We want Zoran Mamdani's to run. Of course, we were there all along. They would just lie to their fucking audiences. But they don't. They don't do it. They don't do that because they're fucking stupid. And they're so personally invested in their own vendettas. Okay? HUD said you getting ratioed on Twitter was a win. Yeah, I know. It's going to be a real fucking shock to all of these motherfuckers when the midterms come around, I think. Like, this is the only politics they have, which is to constantly tell their audience that I have no political emotion whatsoever, which who cares? Who cares if I have political motion or not? Like, I'm irrelevant. If I'm irrelevant and I'm powerless, then why the fuck do you talk about me all the time? You know what I mean?
But the annoying thing is that he's not playing the same game that conservatives or even center-left liberals are, because he doesn't care at the end of the day if any of his people get elected or if he's able to influence any policy or not. He just wants to talk about it. That's it. And the confusion of those two things are very detrimental, I think.
I just don't understand it. For someone who's obsessive with hating Hassan, does he actually has no idea what Hassan stands for? Is he pretending? Instead of streaming literally almost every day, he could go spend time with his kid. Should only talk politics if your buddy's in power. Gives you power and money. New vibe detected. It's just strange. If they literally, here is free ball, okay? I know that these guys will never listen to what I have to say, but the free ball here for you, okay, free advice, is to shut the fuck up about me and start talking about the issues themselves without tying it back to me somehow. Because the reality of the matter is, if you only talked about the issues, you would probably start developing an audience that cares about the issues again. Okay? Didn't this guy care about a municipal candidate getting elected? Said candidate turning his back on him after the allegations came out and ended up doing 2% or something? Yes. The difference between me and Destiny is that when Destiny actually put his hat in the fucking ring in the electoral arena and tried to get a mayor elected in Nebraska, in I believe it was the Omaha mayoral race, right? His candidate had to disavow Destiny, and his candidate got fucking 2% of the election anyway. Okay? And it's so sad that he has like genuinely tried to say like Zoran did the same thing. Zoran did the same thing. It's like, first of all, he disavowed the 9/11 statement. He didn't disavow me, as evidenced by the fact that, we're still, I'm still working directly with the DSA to get his slate and his agenda accomplished here. Not only that, but he fucking won. Didn't Midas Touch blow up like the #1 lib podcast? Pretty sure they don't spend hours a day talking about Hassan bad. The problem is this guy's mentally ill. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And the reason why Midas Touch, Midas Touch and the politics that they represent are different than mine. Okay. I am much more radical than they are. I am much, much more radical than they are. But it doesn't matter because they also understand that a big tent with candidates like AOC are what will make the Democratic Party viable. They love Zoran. They love AOC. They love Bernie Sanders. Okay? They don't shy away from propping up establishment Democrats as well. But they don't spend every fucking waking moment and make their political expressions simply Hassan bad, Hassan bad, Hassan bad, because they also understand. And I talk to these guys, right? I'm going to talk to someone from Midas Touch, Adam Mockler, tomorrow. The reason why the reason why I think there's a productive conversation to be had there is because regardless of some of our policy disagreements, they ultimately want Republicans to fucking lose. These guys don't operate like they want Republicans to lose. They don't give a shit whether Republicans win or lose. They only care about getting someone like myself deplatformed.
That we should respond to them as appropriate, call out their bad takes as appropriate. But the obsession is something I don't understand. The obsession is something I don't understand, and why as opposed to someone like Piers Morgan, as opposed to like Joe Rogan.
If you don't understand the obsession at this point,
does Zoran actually really fuck with you still or not? Does it seem negative towards you in that debate? Brother, I talk to Zoran Mamdani privately all the fucking time. Not that it fucking matters at the end of the day.
you're probably just not
like his entire I think you guys don't understand, like his entire team is people like you. Okay? I work with his slate of candidates. Stop being fucking parasocial. I can't believe that this is like a genuine. I can't believe that this is also like a genuine point of contention. This is what I mean.
And why, as opposed to someone like Piers Morgan, as opposed to like Joe Rogan.
If you don't understand the obsession at this point, you're probably just not qualified to have an opinion on anything going on here. I don't think you should talk.
That we should respond to them as appropriate.
It's crazy that he also like recognizes that it's an obsession. Destiny defending Hassan against Pisco's outrageous suggestion that Piers Morgan and Joe Rogan are much more appropriate objects of goon fixation, insists that failing to psychosexually obsess over Piker should in fact disqualify a person from having an opinion on anything. To which I responded with, not even hiding the pathological obsession now that the remaining cult members are the most diehard. I think that's what's going on here. What's going on here is that it's like a fucking grudge. It's an obsession. And we're going to move on to Zoran Mamdani right now, by the way, who has the heavens mandate. But basically what I was saying is they think that the only way to cover politics is by just like hyper fixating on someone like myself. If I am irrelevant, then you shouldn't be talking about me that much. If I am relevant because I work within the confines of the Democratic Party, then you shouldn't be attacking me, because ultimately we are supposed to be fighting the Republicans together. Problem is, you don't give a fuck about fighting Republicans. You give a fuck about fighting an agenda against me, the agenda that happens to be a pathological obsession that you have. Lucky for us, I think that more and more people in his community, more and more people in his orbit have started to realize that this isn't like real. What you're talking about is just like drama obsessed, clickbaity nonsense. Okay?
Zoran Mamdani is issuing an ultimatum in an effort to close the city's massive budget gap. He's calling on New York Governor Kathy Hochul to raise taxes on the city's wealthiest people, or he'll have to increase property taxes by nearly 10%. But that's not enough to balance.
Yeah. Zoran Mamdani has officially moved on to playing hardball. While I was initially critical of his move of endorsing Kathy Hochul before the New York Democrats did, and doing it alongside AOC, and coming out of the gate swinging with a Kathy Hochul endorsement rather than wait and have proper leverage against her, right? He got this endorsement. Now, what's really interesting about this endorsement and this calculated posture that he has is that the endorsement actually yielded a concession from Kathy Hochul immediately in the form of $1.5 billion to play, to basically help with the budget shortfall that the previous administration had presented, right? A lot of corruption from the Adams administration, and Zoran is doing full-blown transparency, okay? But it didn't end there. There was a back and forth on whether or not Zoran was the guy that was actually going to continue pushing Kathy Hochul in the right direction, because one of his major agenda items is obviously increasing the taxes on the super wealthy in the city of New York, right? And you can't really do that without Albany, the state of New York, controlled both by the state assembly members, but also by the state legislature and the city assembly members, the state legislature, but more importantly, also by Governor Kathy Hochul, right? The major reasons as to why he's doing this, obviously, is through sewer socialism. Shouts out Michael from Pennsylvania, loves talking about this, obviously, to give him his flowers, to show that if you are a socialist elected, you will accomplish the promises that you made, and that as a movement guy, as a movement leader, no matter how small a role you think you may play, and the mayoral seat is a very powerful one, especially in New York City, that you will show nationally to every Democratic Party voter that is paying attention, both in the city of New York, but also beyond, that a socialist elected means a person who is serious about making the necessary changes that will improve the material conditions of the working class. Now, he obviously has a lot of pressure.
Diary from a 16-year-old girl describing how Trump drugged and raped her. The text below can be found on page 16 next to a magazine cutout of Ivana Trump. The text reads, "Does this lady know that you can't have dignity if you've been with him? I know I have none, only Skittles."
Jesus Christ. Yeah, oh yeah, TTS is back too. That caught me off guard a little bit. I turned TTS on. Yeah, dude, we're doing crazy. We're doing crazy stuff out here. We got the soundboard and we got TTS. Make that last statement a soundbite. We need to be able to repost that socialists will make their true promises when they get elected. Sure. Okay. Now, the struggle continues, right? He has a lot of pressure. He has pressure from all of the same like corporate entities and corporate interests in New York City. He has pressure from the police. And he also has pressure from Albany with Kathy Hochul, who is obviously not going to comply with everything that he's demanding. But the question was, for many people, whether or not Zoran was actually invested in this fight to tax the wealthy, because he said he wasn't going to go to the protest that's taking place in Albany against Kathy Hochul to put public pressure against the governor to make sure that the governor advances this agenda item.
Chat tipped $6.90. Far.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And there was actually a really interesting take from Peter Stern, who initially addressed, where is it? Where the fuck is it? Does anyone have the link to the original take that Peter Stern had when like Zoran said that he wasn't going to go to Albany and support the protests against Kathy Hochul? This caused people to think maybe Zoran is not invested in this fight at all. Okay? It invoked understandable scrutiny, okay, towards what he was trying to do. But then he very quickly came out, got some promises in terms of $1.5 billion from Kathy Hochul's office. Hello. What is happening? Hello. Sorry. Kaya, break. What? No, not there. Kaya, get out of there. Move out of there, little lady with your big butt. No. Oh my God. What do I do? What do I do here? She's still mad about the spider incident. She does not care about the spider at all. Okay. I don't know why not all of the TTS is working. Okay. Pick her up. She's a lap dog. I can't. Her bed is dirty as fuck. No, that's just the light shining off. As I was saying initially.
Soltatsu tipped $5. What's up, chat? It's the top of the hour, and you know what that means. It's ad break time.
Jesus Christ. Okay, guys. Subscribe instead of donating. Okay.
K8 Timon tipped $5. When mom find the poop sock away.
Okay, you're gonna make me turn off TTS. You're gonna make me turn off TTS instantly. Okay. Nothing will get me to turn off. Nothing will get me to turn off the sound board, but I will turn off TTS.
Balance the books. In addition, he says he'll also have to pull millions from the city's rainy day fund from retiree benefits. It is a path that Bamdani says he does not want to go down.
And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path.
Yeah. There's obviously a couple options here, right? At play. Either Kathy Hochul raises taxes on the wealthy, or he tries to basically force the hand of Julie Menin, okay, to use the city use the city to increase property taxes. Okay? Or austerity. Now, austerity is unacceptable. It's not going to happen, right? He is not going to do austerity.
Still waiting on that blue hair BTW.
He said he's not going to do austerity at all. So that's gone from the equation. New statement from the council speaker, Julie Manin, on Mamdani's budget proposal came out as well. We're going to be covering all that, but here, let's do this.
The options of the second path are the options of last resort.
I'm turning off TTS.
Options that we will only employ if there is no other means of arriving at a balanced budget.
So I guess he's asking, what's a 2% tax increase on a multimillionaire?
If you're already the highest tax jurisdiction in America, it's a massive tax. You know, what I love about this guy, and I'm giving him credit, he goes big. He goes big, and he's got a fantastic social media team. This is great. This is bat poo-poo crazy, what he is proposing. And probably sometime next year, within 12 to 18 months, I will meet him in Miami and give him Real Estate Agent of the Year award. Because I'm not happy with what's happening. I can't get across the bridge anymore. I live in Miami Beach. Everybody from New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts is moving into my neighborhood. I'm pissed off. And this guy's just doing more of it. What he's proposing is beyond insane, but I love it.
You are
now,
very
I'm like everybody else. Listen, you guys live here. You're not paying your fair share.
I don't live here.
You've got to pay 110%. That's the right thing to do. Because he's not cutting spending. He's just going to tax you into oblivion.
I found this very interesting chart, some data for you, Kevin.
Thank you.
The last time there was a tax hike on the wealthiest, this was in 2021. Take a look at this chart. You see what's going on there? The number of people making more than $200,000 in the city increased. The number of people making between $200,000 and $1 million increased. Everybody who makes a lot of money, there were more of them in New York City. Okay, so the idea
Abby,
that there was
some... true, why not increase taxes to 110% if it's so good?
Look,
let's go.
So what's interesting about this, of course, is, like I said, he is forcing the hand of the governor's office, right? This is very real pressure because the city does not want to raise property taxes at all, especially because if property taxes are raised, obviously landlords are going to turn around and increase the price of rent. It's going to make housing more unaffordable. It's going to be a burden on working class individuals, which he openly states, by the way, in this long response video that he crafted, his town hall that he did, where he basically said, you know, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits, trust reserve, and to increase property taxes. Okay, what is this? You dumb socialist! I bet you want to tax millionaires at some absurd percentage, like 90%. That would never work and has never been done. But you wouldn't know that because you're a dumb socialist. Exactly. That person is joking. Obviously, the highest tax bracket was 90%. The highest marginal tax rate was 90% back in the day. For those of you who don't know humor and jokes, but. Basically, he's explaining that what will happen if Kathy Hochul refuses to raise taxes on the rich. She's the one who has the ability to stop this, which is why he's been transparent, so people can ask her to pass the wealth tax, which she refuses to do. He can't fulfill his promises if she's not cooperative. Also, without the mess Adams made, none of this would be even happening. Blame the guy who's been in office for less than 2 months. That's what's going on here. Okay? One of the techniques here that I think is very intelligent is pitting two of these different forces together. In order to develop more public pressure, Zohran Mamdani is being as transparent as possible. He doesn't have the power to do this wealth tax because he's the mayor. But as the mayor, he has the power to put pressure on Kathy Hochul, and he also has the power to pursue different kinds of taxes at the city level. One of the things that he has the power to do as the power to pursue is trying to raise the property taxes. He doesn't want to raise the property taxes. So, because that's an objectively unpopular position, and it will have negative pressure on working class New Yorkers, something that he's very aware of, he is tactically saying, if you don't actually do this wealth tax, which is very popular, then we will be forced to either A, raise the property taxes, which is very unpopular, and will force the New York Assembly to do something that many people don't want to do, especially because legally, the New York budget has to be balanced. So it's going to happen no matter what. And because austerity is not an option, understandably, austerity is not an option at all, he's basically saying these are the options that we have. Someone's going to get taxed. It's up to you to either tax the middle class and working class individuals by way of raising the property taxes and then having landlords fucking raise the rent and ruin affordability, or you tax the super wealthy. It's very simple. Either you tax 33% New Yorkers, or not 33% New Yorkers, sorry. Either you tax 33,000 New Yorkers, who are some of the wealthiest individuals in the country and the wealthiest individuals in the city of New York, or we increase the cost of living for 5 million New Yorkers. Okay? Either 33,000 people pay a little bit more, a modest increase in taxes, or 5 million New Yorkers get punished in the process. That's it. It's a brilliant way to apply pressure to Kathy Hochul, especially because he has to balance the budget no matter what. I actually think Zoran played ball pretty well here, endorsed Hochul, and then turned around and was like, okay, now you hold up my endorsement. Yeah. Not only did he get, through his early endorsement, a immediate 1.5, Hassan, New York has 19 total million people, downstate is almost 9 million. Yeah, 33,000 is a modest amount. 33,000 of the most wealthy New Yorkers paying a little bit more in taxes. I mean, that's crazy. What does austerity mean? It means belt tightening. It means like cutting social expenditure. Now, of course, you can't really do austerity in New York City regardless, because on the one hand, you have the New York Post and all these other people yelling at Zoran for what the sanitation in New York is doing. Well, someone's got to pay the fucking people to plow the snow, right? So you can't, on the one hand, demand austerity, and on the other hand, say, who's going to plow the fucking snow? You're not plowing the fucking snow. It's that simple. Mamdani says if Governor Kathy Hochul rejects the state legislature's proposed tax increases on the rich, he'll have to balance the budget on the backs of working people using the only tools at the city's disposal. So it's either austerity, which is a non-starter, or hiking property taxes, which will still hurt most New Yorkers. Zoran came out of the gate swinging and said, today I'm releasing the city's preliminary budget. After years of fiscal mismanagement, we're staring at a $5.4 billion budget gap and two paths. One, Albany can raise taxes on the ultra wealthy and the most profitable corporations and address the fiscal imbalance between our city and the state. The other, a last resort, balance the budget on the backs of working people using the only tools at the city's disposal. The first path matches a structural crisis with a sustainable and fair solution. I know where I stand. New Yorkers voted for bold change and competent leadership. We will deliver both, and we look forward to partnering with Albany to protect working New Yorkers. Still taking a conciliatory tone. Can he freeze rent, though, or is he not talking about that to keep leverage? Wait, what? No. Freezing the rent stuff is a totally separate conversation, and that's already moving in a positive direction as well. I'm going to talk about that in a second. He got a massive fucking boost on that agenda as well. This is something entirely different. This is the other agenda item. The other agenda item was specifically around balancing the budget and also raising tax for the wealthy in an effort to balance the budget. Okay? Adam is praying for you. What is this? Praying this is an opportunity for growth? Okay, stop. Yes, he has potentially 5 new slots, 5 new appointees on the rent board. So that's huge as well. Okay. Yeah, but why wouldn't they throw it on the back of working people? Wouldn't they blame Zoran for that? It's not going to happen because here's the other side of it. A new statement from Council Speaker Julie Menin, who was appointed to that position because of her hatred for Zoran, for the record. New statement from Council Speaker Julie Menin on Mamdani's budget. The option of raising property taxes and dipping into reserves is a non-starter, but doesn't look like she's endorsing Mamdani's alternative pitch to raise taxes on the wealthy. Because again, he's basically pinning two establishment Democratic planks against one another. Do you understand? He legally has to balance the budget. And he has laid it out. He said, we got to balance the budget. It's literally something I legally have to do. And the budget has a massive $5 billion shortfall. No, Kaya, no, you can't stand right underneath me. That's crazy. That's crazy, lady. Stand right. Okay, down. No, not so close. Okay, right there. You can stay right there. Let her. No, I can't. I don't want to step on her, Chad. Okay. Yeah, she came over here. Give her the soundboard. Yeah, I just gave her the shock. She wants to be close to you, Lamont. I know. I love my daughter. Okay. But what you have to understand is, no matter how much I love my daughter, I don't want to accidentally roll over her tail or one of her fat rolls with my wheels. Okay. No. Don't even. Chad doesn't understand. It's a lot of our dreams for you to step on us. That's crazy. Someone said there's a fourth option. He could invade New Jersey and raid their coffers. He could invade and arrest the mayor of Jersey City and take all their tax money. Yeah. Raid the coffers of Jersey City. It is time. Okay. So, Council Speaker Julie Menin, who is an op at the city level, okay, comes out with a retort against Mamdani's budget proposal and says, the mayor's preliminary budget marks the beginning of a critical conversation about how we safeguard New York City's fiscal future while protecting New Yorkers at a time when New Yorkers are already grappling with an affordability crisis. Dipping into the rainy day reserves and proposing significant property tax increases should not be on the table whatsoever. There's only been two other times when they've raided the city's rainy day reserves, which are, at times during COVID and Michael Bloomberg, I believe, during the financial crisis that took place in 2007, 2008. And then the other time was Bill de Blasio during COVID, right? So obviously it's like, it's a last resort. So it doesn't have to become a last resort. Right? At a time when New Yorkers are already grappling with an affordability crisis, depending on the rainy day reserves and proposing significant property tax increases should not be on the table whatsoever. The council believes there are additional areas of savings and revenue that deserve careful scrutiny before increasing the burden on small property owners and neighborhood small businesses, which could worsen the affordability crisis. The council will release its own projections ahead of preliminary budget hearings and will conduct a thorough review of the administration's financial projections. Our goal is to deliver a balanced budget that protects essential services, addresses the affordability crisis, and reflects shared fiscal responsibility. What you have to remember here, by the way, is that they want to do austerity. That's not going to fucking happen. They want to cut expenditures. And they certainly don't want to cut the $6.4 billion police budget, by the way. They want to cut the budget for sanitation. They want to cut the budget for libraries. They want to cut the budget for the things that the city offers to all of its citizens unconditionally, all of its constituents unconditionally. Zoran is not going to let that happen. Inshallah, he's not going to let that happen. That's the reason why he's playing hardball here. And I fully fucking support it. Okay? It's brilliant. It's tactical. It makes me reconsider my initial scrutiny and skepticism. Okay, I'm glad that he's actually taking the lead here and he's actually applying the public pressure in the ways that he's doing. I fully support this move.
Don't get mad at me.
I'm not mad. I'm excited about it.
I'm just asking you.
Because I want you to pay, not me.
I'm asking you, is there really proof of the brain drain that you say,
it's
the
called
money drain?
England in the late 60s.
Okay.
It's called
So
France.
then
You had to let the man cook. Sorry, guys. I'm going to be a fucking doubter when it's necessary, okay? I'm not going to sit there and be a regime loyalist and praise dear leader. If he does something that I am skeptical of, I have to tell you the truth, even if I personally like the guy, okay? I personally like this guy. You know this. It's not a fucking secret, okay? And I am fairly considerate and very open about my thought process with politicians that are closest to me ideologically, politicians that I talk to in person. I'm still going to tell you what my criticisms are when they arise. I have to call balls and strikes, okay? I promise you that I'm never going to be a person that is a regime loyalist unless that regime is doing things that require this loyalty, okay? That's it. That's the difference between someone like myself and someone like MSNBC or someone like Fox News. Everyone has a role to play here. But even when it comes to someone who is objectively the closest politician that I have ever seen, at least with his representation of his own personal ideology, with what he's done, both in the past and what he says he was going to do, I am still going to be critical. That I promise to you. No matter what happens, I am accountable to no one but you guys, okay? The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. Does this put his prior moves into a new perspective or as well, or strictly his endorsement with Kathy? A little bit, yes. This was a really good move, okay? I think this was a really smart move. I really liked it. I think this applies pressure, as obvious pressure as you possibly could apply to Kathy Hochul. Of course, City Council Speaker Julie Menin won't consider Mamdani's proposal to raise property taxes if Hochul refuses to tax the rich. Instead, she went on a conservative radio show to say the city needs to spend less on retirees' health care benefits. That is a fucking non-starter, okay? That is obviously a fucking non-starter, and she is going to get fucking destroyed because especially at the city level, a city council speaker has a level of accountability to their constituents that the governor doesn't, right? Like, it's much harder to apply pressure to the governor's office than it is to the city council speaker. Okay? That's a easier hurdle to clear for Zohran Mamdani. That's it. So when she stands at odds with the needs of some of the most important constituents from especially an election perspective, it's going to be much easier to turn the fucking pressure on someone like her. Because remember, this is the New York Democrats rat fucking Zohran by appointing Julie Menin to the speaker's position. This is where politics gets ruthless. It's where politics gets conniving. This is where politics gets annoying and boring for most people. Obviously, we pay close attention to it because of the ideological nature of Zohran Mamdani, what he represents as a movement. So it's good to keep a close eye on this stuff, especially when the local papers are actively misrepresenting what Zohran Mamdani is advocating for. He's going to need allies on his side in the media side of things. Okay? New York Post straight up came out and was like, Zohran wants to do property taxes. He fucking sucks. He fucking sucks. They did not actually cover transparently what he was doing. So someone's got to do it. So it's up to people like ourselves to correct the record.
Why are there more multimillionaires in New York now than the last time they raised taxes?
But listen, I don't think they're paying their fair share.
I have lived in South Florida for 46 years, and there is no doubt that we are seeing an exodus of very, very wealthy people, billionaires, from California and from New York into South Florida. In Florida, there are no state taxes. Every day I open up the news and there's a new real estate record that has been broken in home sales because Larry Page is moving down and he just bought a place for $100 and some million. Zuckerberg's moving down. So the bottom line is this: when you put a hike,
the real people, the only people that matter, people who purchase hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate. Yeah, the whole point of class warfare and what Zohran Mamdani and many others in the Democratic Party are representing now is to stop the fucking bleeding for the working class. Who gives a fuck about Larry Page? Larry Page can suck my dick. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, she's saying the quiet part out loud. Anna Navarro is literally like, oh, isn't it wonderful that Florida is now a fucking safe haven for Jeffrey Epstein affiliates? As though it wasn't in the past. I mean, obviously, that's why his base of operation was there to begin with. Fuck those people. What the fuck do you mean?
On taxes on just the very wealthy. You run the risk of those very wealthy not paying it because they will find a way to have a loophole and to skirt.
Oh, okay. So they're always going to fucking skirt the system. So we mustn't even try to tax them. Again, this kind of defeatist mentality in the past could have been packaged as someone who is leading through fear, right? Someone who is actually fearful. I think we all know now, especially with the opportunity that people like Zoran present, that this isn't leading through fear. Okay, this isn't like a reactionary perspective that revolves around being fearful that like the super wealthy are keeping the economy hostage. This is by design. You're not being pragmatic at all. You're actually dick riding billionaires into fucking oblivion. You only serve their interests. That is the position that you play on this panel. Look at Abby's face. That's it. It's very obvious. I mean, and of course, Kevin O'Leary is already a super wealthy person regardless. But Anna Navarro is playing this role of like, no, you don't understand. You have to listen to me. I'm a former Republican.
Those taxes, even if it means moving to Indian Creek and, living in billionaires' bunker. They can afford to do so. The people, the people who have to live in New York to work may not be able to afford to do that. But if you've got your private plane and you've got the ability to move,
we're talking about people who make more than $1 million a year. It's not exactly, I mean, maybe in New York it's
Is that
middle
what he's
class.
going to tax people? In California, it's
That's what the
billionaires.
proposal. The proposal is people who make more than $1 million a year. It's a very specific group of people. And I'm just asking, realistically, are we really going to see what you're claiming we're going to see? And yeah, there are
we're seeing it.
Tons of wealthy people moving from California, from all over.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Wealthy people are not going to escape New York. You want to know why? Because they're in New York to begin with, okay? New York already has a higher tax burden on wealthy people. It's that simple. So why are they in fucking New York? Why are they not in Florida already? It's bullshit. Wealth flight is a lie that the wealthy people constantly present. It is bullshit. Here's a Forbes writer on the capital flight myth. Billionaire flight is rare, exaggerated, and often confused with paper avoidance or account maneuvering, not physical relocation. California's proposed billionaire wealth tax act could raise $100 billion, even after accounting for avoidance. Good tax design beats fear-based forecasting every time. The wealth flight narrative survives because it sounds intuitive, not because it's true. The research actually shows, 1, wealth tax moves paper. The dominant response is accounting maneuvering. 2, the wealthy are less mobile than publicly suggested. And 3, revenue gained exceeds revenue lost from those who leave. The real risk to wealth tax revenue isn't migration, it's design. California has no estate or inheritance tax, allowing vast fortunes to escape taxation, state taxation for decades. When policymakers mistake avoidance for exit, they misdesign taxes and leave billions on the table. Wealth flight is just a threat. It's a threat that is unrealized. It is completely fucking made up. And there are also additional safeguards against this kind of maneuvering anyway. Slap a fucking fat exit tax and watch the billionaires stay in the state. Okay? We have to start calling these guys bluffs out, because the reality of the matter is you can extend this argument all the time to taxing the wealthy, which is one of the most popular fucking positions in the United States of America. It transcends political boundaries. It transcends politics. It transcends the political duopoly. There is a consensus amongst the base. They want the super wealthy to pay their fair share in taxes. Okay? It's bullshit. We should tax you too? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, you should tax me. Bitch, I pay the fucking highest percentage in taxes in the goddamn country. My income is pure income coming from you, the viewers, in the form of a fucking 1099. You understand that? So I'm already getting pure income and I'm paying all of it back. I pay a higher share. I pay the highest share in taxes in the United States of America, far higher of a real effective tax rate than the average billionaire or the average millionaire pays because of the way that my income works. Okay? If the average billionaire or the average millionaire, the average small business owner, average big business owner actually paid my percentage of taxes, the American tax coffers would be fucking filled to the goddamn brim. Okay? I pay the same real percentage taxes at the end of the fucking year that the average worker does. Okay? It's unheard of for someone in my position. It's unheard of for someone at my fucking tax bracket. Most people look at me like I'm a psycho for that reason. Not only do I live in the state of California, I live in Los Angeles, and on top of that, I don't actually fucking shelter my assets or fucking dump it into the stock market or anything like that. It's just pure income. And it's ironic because you're saying this to defend fucking billionaires. It's so stupid. And I still say, yeah, there's more room to grow in terms of taxing someone like myself. What percentage? I don't know what the real percentage is, but it's something over. It's literally fucking. It comes down to almost like 50%. Kaya, watch out, baby. You got closer. It's over 50%. Dog, the way this should be framed is this. Trump has the balls not only to tax the entire country with tariffs, but brag about it daily. With that as the baseline, we should be able to sell taxing the rich. Am I going crazy? Yeah. Anyway, the worst problem is, at least from where I'm standing, I don't mind paying these taxes because at least some of that still goes back to the teachers. Some of that goes back to the roads. Some of that goes back to the infrastructure. I want all of it to go back to the state of California, to helping these groups. I want all of it to go to initiatives that help the working class and not to like Israel or the military industrial complex or to major businesses that get these tax breaks that basically are subsidies at the end of the day. There's no reason for fucking Palantir to avoid taxes every goddamn year, okay? It's ridiculous. It's bullshit. Yeah, I pay you know what's shocking? When I talk about this stuff with my French friends, for example, they're shocked. There is this false notion, there's this false understanding that in the United States of America, the effective tax rate at the end of the year is actually super low. That's not real. That's not the case at all. For someone like myself living in California, I pay a higher effective tax rate, than the average wealthy French person does. They're shocked by it. And the reason why they're shocked by it is because of, one, the false notion that, America is a tax shelter. Obviously, it could be a tax shelter if I don't know, incorporated in fucking Delaware or some shit, right? But the other reason why they're shocked by it, because there are plenty of tax loopholes that I could take advantage of, especially at my current level of wealth. I simply do not do that. But the other reason why they're shocked by it is because there's nothing that we get in return for those taxes. There is a tremendous amount of homeless people in the streets. The infrastructure is dog shit. There's no adequate public transit. There's no health care. Education is underwater. There's nothing to show for. That's the reason why they're shocked by it. They can't comprehend it. They're like, what the fuck are you paying taxes for? And that's a very real question that a lot of people have, because the American tax policy creates instability. It goes against social cohesion. We don't have the mentality of the super wealthy giving back in exchange for the wealth that they've accrued off the backs of the American working class, partially because everyone has the understanding that, oh, yeah, you're paying these taxes, and then where's it going? To build a fucking stadium. You're just basically subsidizing the super, super wealthy. Why the fuck should I pay taxes? Of course I'm going to cheat. Of course I'm going to do everything in my power to fucking engage in tax avoidance. Ask the average European, middle wealth guy, right? The average European millionaire, why they pay the taxes that they do, and there is infinitely more social cohesion. Not to say that these are good guys in general. They're still fucking capital owners. But the reality of the matter is they have this understanding that the taxes are going to use, like to good use. There are plenty of people who are higher earners on average, you know, part of the professional managerial class, part of the, you know, small business contingency that somewhat recognize, at least even after 2 decades of austerity in European capitals, that like the money is still going back to good programs, to things that, you know, help boost the prosperity of the people. That's where that real cohesion comes from. Republicans are too stupid and too racist to recognize it. They think, oh, it's because these guys are homogenous societies. No, it's because there is a mutual understanding, at least for the time being, that the government is supposed to work for the interests of the common good. Okay? That's changing, especially with decades and decades of austerity and more opportunities for the private enterprise to come in and take advantage of this, take advantage of the shittier government services to say, oh, we can provide a better service and then, you know, make money that way. But that real cohesion comes from an established understanding that at least at a base level, okay, there is a mutual understanding that the government is supposed to work at the behest of the common good, for prosperity for all. Okay? What is this? Ronaldo got you wiped down? What does that mean? What is he wiping down? I don't even know what that means. Yes, rich people benefit from roads and education. Educated workers they use that have to live and drive to their workplaces to make them profits. Exactly. Rich people and small businesses benefit from having social safety nets so they don't have to fucking pay for it themselves. Okay? That's how this stuff works. Anyway, but yeah, we're now at a position where Zoran is forcing the hand of Kathy Hochul or possibly Menin to do the right thing.
For the country to Florida.
But it's not the person making, it's not the person making $1 million a year, which in New York is not as much as it sounds in other places. So it's the person making $50 million a year.
Exactly.
That's moving.
Exactly. So people making $50 million a year are moving, but many other people who are making much less than that, but still much more than middle-class people, are probably not moving.
I feel like husbands and wives, school teacher, nurse, they're moving to South Carolina and North Carolina. They're trying to get away from the overburdensome tax code in New York. And when you see Mandani,
they're not getting away from the overburdensome tax code, dumbass. They're getting away because New York is fucking unaffordable, which is precisely why Zoran won, because he literally openly called it out. It's crazy to look at the symptom of a problem and demand more of that same. It's crazy to look at the symptom of a problem and then demand more of the problem that caused it, okay? This is how reactionaries always fucking operate. Also, this guy's name is John Tobacco. This is a ridiculous person. I mean, I'm sorry. He looks ridiculous. He sounds fucking ridiculous. This is like if I were to present a guy named John Tobacco wearing like a Joker villain style outfit over here, who's the city comptroller, who's going to save the interests of the wealthy, you'd be like, come on, dude. Like, really? We're doing fucking afraidophobia this hard, this early? Like, can you be serious for a moment? You'd be telling me I'm out of my mind. Meanwhile, this cartoon character is a real person, apparently. Hey, I'm Big Tobacco. I'm John Tobacco. Hey, how you doing? Fuck you, all right? I'm going to work my ass off to make sure with my spray painted on hair that I'm going to be saving the interests of the wealthy over here. Fuck you. The wealthy, they're being taxed far too much. We got to put an end to that over here. Get the fuck out of here. How you doing? Fuck you. I'm John Tobacco.
You know, news break to everyone here. Mandani cannot raise taxes, okay? And Kathy Hochul is up for re-election this year. So there's no possible way that she will allow him to raise taxes this year because
What are you fucking doing? Busting my fucking balls over here. How you doing? Fuck you. Mandani can't fucking raise the fucking taxes.
He won't get re-elected, so.
Yeah, founder of a crypto business too. Fucking awesome.
A lot of this is kind of smoke and mirrors, and you know, it shouldn't come as no surprise to anyone that he wants to take from the rich and give to the poor. He said in his campaign, white people have been controlling the levers of capitalism for too long, and we need to transfer that to brown people. He said those words.
He can't raise.
Can't do anything.
He can't raise income tax, but he can raise property tax in the municipality of New York.
Yeah, he does. He does have that fucking power. He's not gonna do it though. How dare you? How dare you fucking suggest raising it property fucking taxes? What kind of gabagool bullshit is this? Hey, I'm talking here. Get the fuck out of here, Anna Navarro. Oh my God. If he fucking does that, I'm gonna huff and I'm gonna puff. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
Albany. Do that by executive order.
But hold on, to be clear, he explicitly said he's asking Albany to raise taxes on people making over $1 million.
I think that's what he's doing. But to his point earlier, he's swinging for the fences. I don't think anybody is. Well, yes, it is surprising to actually hear him say it, but this is what he ran on. He talked about what he was going to do. I feel like, why not? Why not? Because he's doing exactly what this president is doing. He's leading, and he's doing it by any means necessary. Whatever he says, he's leading with this boldness. Like, I'll try this. Let's see what happens. I mean, like, why the hell not? Let me just throw it right here and see what happens.
This is interesting.
I think it's really clear that he doesn't want to raise property taxes. He wants to do everything he can to make sure he doesn't want to. He wants to increase taxes on the richest people and the biggest corporations, but he needs Albany to do that. He needs the governor to do that. And like you said, she's not going to do that in election year. So I think that's pretty valid. Right. But I think this idea that people are all going to flee New York.
They are.
Well, here's the thing. My guess is the people buying houses in Millionaire Row in Florida are not also giving up their apartments in New York. They're just changing where they live.
They're keeping track of their days.
What Anna does.
They're keeping track of their days, and they are making sure that they are not
making a little loophole for the very, very richest to say, I live in a different state. But then they're going to come back to New York because New York is still New York.
And it's not a crisis.
Ban the rich from New York. I love it.
But hold on.
Not 183 days, no days in New York, no wealthy people in New York. I love this.
But what John, hold on, John made a really, John made a very important point. Zohran Mamdani ran on this, okay?
I love it.
He ran on it. The people voted him in. He beat out all the other Democratic candidates. He threw Kathy Hochul, who you're claiming won't back this, a lifeline by supporting her in her primary. I think it feels like you guys have the politics of this backwards.
Oh, really?
Okay? She is the one who
They're working together too, I think.
So the unknown assemblyman threw the lifeline to the incumbent governor, is what you're saying. He threw her the lifeline.
I don't know if you know this, John Tobacco, but Zohran Mamdani, as it stands, is the most popular politician in the United States of America, and is not even a nationally renowned politician now, but an internationally known one. So, sucks to suck, but cat's out of the fucking bag over here. Yeah! Kathy Hochul needs Zohran Mamdani for her political career more than vice versa, more than the reversal of that position now. Okay?
He is of all the New York politicians.
He didn't even get more than half
of all the New York politicians, he's the most popular.
Correct.
That's right.
He is the most popular. So I know that it's not. I know that it's not an easy thing to understand, but I think Mamdani has shifted the politics in this city, and I think it's a real question that if the voters who voted him in to raise taxes on rich people don't want him to actually do that.
But what happens if he doesn't deliver? By chance, maybe he doesn't deliver. I still can't get on a free bus yet, and I'm pissed. My hotel still costs me money in New York. I will do it if it's free. I won't pay for $5 for coffee. I'll get on a bus if it's free.
So if the bus is free, you yourself will get on the bus.
My hotel,
is that what you're saying? You get on the bus.
It'll be 2% more.
Why does Zohran Mamdani not make the buses fast and free in the first day in office?
Here in New York is that there's a balanced budget law, right? Yeah. And so they can't be like the federal government and spend more than what they have.
All right, don't respond, Kevin. We have to go.
Did he promise
we gotta go, my friends.
Nothing chicks for free? Yes or no?
Chicks for free?
Money for nothing, chicks for free, and we didn't get either of them.
Kevin, listen.
I'm upset.
That free bus is going to cost you 2% more on your upper tax bracket.
Where's my money?
Next for us.
You're a Canadian who lives in Florida. What the hell are you upset about?
Next for us.
That was incredibly shocking, at least on Abby Phillips's performance. Woke is low-key back. Like, Abby Phillips was cooking on that. I was not expecting the CNN host to be cooking so goddamn hard on that. Respect.
Congresswoman Valerie Foushee is facing a primary challenge from Nita Alam. She's backed by Bernie Sanders. Can you comment on that primary?
I strongly support the Congresswoman, as is the case with the Congressional Black Caucus and many of her colleagues that have served with Val for the last several years. She's a tremendous member of Congress, very thoughtful, very studious, very serious, and very forceful in advocating on behalf of her constituents and pushing back against Donald Trump's extremism. For us in the House, primaries are a way of life. That's just the reality. You know, the framers decided that the House would be the institution that is closest to the American people, to reflect the hopes, the dreams, the aspirations, the fears, the concerns, the anxieties, the life experiences, and in the words of the framers, the passions of the people. And one of the ways in which they effectuated that dynamic is to give the House a 2-year term. And so every 2 years, we have to go back to the people to make an argument to persuade them to renew our 2-year employment contract. That's just a way of life. It must be nice to have a 6-year term. But we don't have that luxury. And so that's going to mean, in many districts across the country, that there will be active primaries. And we embrace that as a reality of what the House is supposed to represent. But at the same period of time, I stand behind every single one of my Democratic colleagues, from the most progressive, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, to the more centrist ones like Tom Suozzi, and everybody in between. I stand behind all of them. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they're all reelected.
The city is trying to fix a massive budget shortage.
Who would you be your ideal replacement for Jeffries as a speaker? I mean, I don't know. I think Ro Khanna could be interesting. John Fetterman. It was Chi. Guys, I don't think you understand. When you take out, like if Chi Ose was still running against Hakeem Jeffries, and let's say in the long shot that he wins, he doesn't automatically become the speaker. Like, that's not how that, you know, that's not how that works, right?
Shortfall.
And Mayor Mamdani says if the state doesn't tax the rich more, property taxes will have to go up to fill the gap. Aziza Schuler joins us live from the studio with more on the potential impact to people. Aziza.
Good morning. So with the city staring down a $7 billion budget gap, someone will have to shoulder the cost. Mayor Mamdani says it should be the wealthy. Governor Hochul opposes raising taxes. And many New Yorkers say they don't want to carry the burden at all. Mayor Mamdani's first and preferred strategy to close the $7 billion budget deficit is a 2% income tax hike on roughly 33,000 New Yorkers earning more than $1 million a year, along with higher corporate taxes. It's a plan Governor Hochul has firmly rejected as she heads into a re-election campaign. So that leaves option 2, raising property taxes on everyone, homeowners, building owners, and corporations that own property here. And Governor Hochul is also against that.
This is not a conversation on the basis of ideology. This is a conversation about a fiscal crisis. And when faced with this crisis, the question is who should pay these taxes? I believe that it should be the wealthiest New Yorkers, the most profitable corporations.
New Yorkers are stuck in the middle of this battle of the taxes.
Everything has increased. Groceries, gas, just the day-to-day expenses. We don't want to take that burden. Give it to somebody else. Give it to the billionaires that you promised.
It sounds like there might be a lot of steps before it gets to that.
Jared Walzak, a senior fellow at the Tax Foundation, a nonprofit, says bumping up property taxes would lead to rent increases, make New York City less desirable, and go against the national trend.
What I will say beyond this is that across the country, most cities, most states are reducing property tax rates, not raising them.
Mamdani says closing the city's budget gap will take discipline, and he's now placing chief savings officers in every agency to cut waste and boost efficiency. Now, it's important to remember that this is just the mayor's proposed spending plan. The actual budget won't be done until after the state budget is finalized this spring. Mary.
Mayor Mamdani's proposed budget has scared a lot of people. Homeowners, co-op and condo owners, building owners, anyone who could see their property tax bills go up if Albany doesn't find extra money to bail the city out of its fiscal crisis. Political reporter Marcia Kramer has the story.
Flushing, Queens is a neighborhood of homeowners who are proud of their leafy streets, tiny plots of land, and the ability to have a touch of suburbia. Many, like Paul Graziano, have lived in the neighborhood for decades, but now they're worried they could be forced out by Mayor Mamdani's threat of a huge property tax hike. He says of his neighbors,
I think they would freak out.
Paul is worried too.
Absolutely impinge everything. I mean,
it is, dude, local news is so fucking reactionary. Sometimes when I'm listening to local news, I'm like, is this the New York Post? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, explain why. Explain that he doesn't want to do that. This is another component of class warfare. The media is pliant, and its role is to preserve the interests of the wealthy. So, of course, they're doing this fucking insane propaganda to be like, Zoran wants to raise your property taxes. Is that what Zoran wants? Did he say that? Because I feel like he said the exact opposite. He said he doesn't want to raise the property taxes. Interesting.
I'm raising a 9-year-old kid, and everybody knows when you're raising kids, it's every dollar counts.
His taxes have already skyrocketed. When he bought this home in the neighborhood he grew up in, the taxes were $2,800. Now they're $11,000. Mamdani tax hike would mean another hike of over $1,000, and he's furious.
This is coming from someone who has never had to fight for anything in his life, who grew up in privilege and wealth. So, of course, raising property taxes on rich people, such as himself, isn't much of a burden.
But it's not just homeowners. Ann Korshak owns 2 small West Side buildings, which each have 10 apartments.
Bro, I swear to God. Like, I swear, dude, what the fuck are you saying? Obviously, like, you're rich, and I famously associate rich people with wanting to pay higher percentages of their income in taxes. First of all, he's not rich. And secondly, what rich person's like, I love paying higher percentages in tax? I'm like the only rich person I know, at least, that doesn't fucking mind it. This argument is awesome. When you don't have a 9-year-old kid, true. It's just funny. You're not rich enough. That's why you don't mind it. No. I'm probably wealthier than that guy. Let's be real. But it doesn't matter. Well, I do have a daughter. She's not 9 yet. She's a handful. Anyway, my point is, that's the worst person to fucking ask their take on. And it's also totally one-sided, a totally ridiculous approach to the issue. Because there's not one option here. Zoran didn't come out and was like, I love raising property taxes. I'm going to raise the property taxes. He said, I don't want to raise the property taxes, but that's the last option. Unless we raise the taxes for the super wealthy.
There's no restraint. They just come to us as if we're an ATM machine.
She says the Mamdani tax hike, if it comes to fruition, will affect her tenants too.
It's going to make it much harder for me to replace a boiler. Instead, I'm going to repair it. Patch a roof instead of replacing a roof. Those are the kinds of decisions you have to make when,
Oh, the poor landlords, man. Landlords famous for wanting to repair things in a timely manner are now going to be even worse than they were before, it seems. Very interesting stuff.
40% of your rent roll is going to the city in property taxes.
The mayor says raising property taxes is not his first choice. He wants more money from Albany, but
this is a budget that reflects the only tools that the city has at its disposal. When we are speaking about property taxes, that is a tool of very last resort.
So a tool of very last resort, he just said there, Marcia. Then why is he doing it?
If you ask me, he's trying to raise an army. Remember that army of volunteers that help him get elected? Well, he wants an army of people that are going to call their elected officials and scream bloody murder, don't raise my taxes.
Well, you know, at this news conference that you attended, you did ask the mayor if he would really do this, if he would really raise property taxes. Tell everyone what he said, but
well,
also,
he actually dodged that question. But the truth of the matter is that a lot can happen. This is a preliminary spending plan. The budget happens around May, depending on what happens in Albany. And a lot can happen. Revenues could go up. The state could decide to give more money. He could find waste in government agencies. The real question is this. It's an election year. Is the governor going to raise taxes? Is the legislature going to raise taxes when they have to face the voters in November?
All right.
Good question.
Marcia Kramer, keep us posted. Thank you.
On the 13th of January, President Trump said to the opposition in Iran, hold.
It's an election year. So, of course, Kathy Hochul can't be seen doing the bidding of the overwhelming majority of American voters in the state of New York. Like, I'm sure someone has the numbers. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but judging by national trends, I suspect that taxing the billionaires and the millionaires is an unfathomably popular position. I feel like if we had, I don't know, a democratic process, a governor that's up for re-election would be excited at the prospect of doing that. It almost feels like we don't have a democratic process. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to the United States striking Iran at the behest of Israel now.
Hold on, help is coming. We all wondered what he meant. And on the 22nd of January, he said there's a massive armada off the coast of Iran. Well, it wasn't so much an armada, but it was the carrier strike group based on the Abraham Lincoln. And that's a pretty powerful carrier strike group, and that's been there since more or less the end of January. But now there really is something to talk about, which is that the Gerald Ford, another carrier strike group, is just sitting off Gibraltar. It's there at the moment. It will probably go through the Strait of Gibraltar tonight. And if it chooses, it could be off the coast in the Eastern Mediterranean within about 4 days. So by the weekend, it's possible that the United States will have 3 really important elements in place for some sort of military action. The first element, of course, is the naval buildup. So there might be 2 carrier battle groups, one in the Arabian Sea, one in the Eastern Mediterranean. There will be at least 11 air defense destroyers. There are 3 littoral combat ships. There are at least 2, maybe even 3 attack submarines loaded with Tomahawk missiles. So that's one element. A second element is that we've seen lots of C-17s and C-5s, the big heavy lifters, the Globemasters and the Galaxies, all over the region in the last 10 days, bringing air defense assets to American bases all over the region. So quite likely what the Americans have been doing is strengthening.
I like that we just talked about taxation for like the last hour or so, just so you can see where the tax dollars are going, by the way. Like, I'm glad that I spent the last hour talking about, like, you know, percentages of taxes paid, only for us to now show you exactly where it's fucking going. Because if you thought that it was going to the teachers, you're wrong. If you thought that it was going to fixing the infrastructure, you're wrong. It's going to corporate subsidies, and it's going to this. Military machines moving in the direction of Iran at the behest of a foreign nation state, Israel. Isn't that wonderful?
The air defense at all of their facilities in case of Iranian retaliation once an attack begins. And the third element is that data and forensics have been looking at the movement of American aircraft in recent days. And the thing that's most interesting about this, they've got lots of fighters in place. But if we look at some of the maps that we have been able to create, then we can see that
Yeah, you're obsessed with Israel. It's always so funny that, like, that's the number one thing that people try to say. Hassan, you're so Israel obsessed. Motherfucker, you know who's Israel obsessed? The American politicians, the American political class. They love Israel. They care about Israel more than they care about you. Some are even more honest than others, like Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham goes to Israel twice a month now. Okay? Leftists are Fs. What does that mean? Fanatics. According to Jennifer Jacobs from CBS News, Scoop from CBS News, top national security officials have told Trump the military is ready for... Leftists are what? Is that what you mean? Top national security officials have told Trump the military is ready for potential strikes on Iran as soon as this weekend, but the timeline for any action is likely to extend beyond Saturday or Sunday, sources say. Trump has not yet made a final decision. Over the next 3 days, Pentagon is moving some personnel out of the Middle East region, primarily to Europe or back to U.S., ahead of potential action or counterattacks by Iran. It's standard practice for the Pentagon to shift assets and troops ahead of potential military activity and doesn't necessarily signal an attack on Iran is imminent, one of the sources said. Contacted by CBS News on Wednesday afternoon, a Pentagon spokesperson said they had no information to provide. This is by Jennifer Jacobs and Jim Laporta. Secretary of State Marco Rubio plans to visit Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in about 2 weeks for further discussions, according to one of the sources. A source told Dropsite Trump was intent on striking Iran in January, but was not satisfied with the options. The new diplomatic talks gave Pentagon the time to dispatch more firepower to the region. Sources says there's 80 to 90% likelihood U.S. strikes within weeks. Yeah. By Trump was not satisfied with the options, he means Trump was scared that little o Israel could get punished in the process a little too much. And because he cares about Israel more than he cares about the Americans, he shied away from it.
They've got lots of air-to-air tankers. And so here, on the 16th of February, we tracked 6 KC-135 air-to-air tankers from Mildenhall in the United Kingdom to a base in Greece.
It's so funny when people say, oh, dude, you're Israel obsessed. It's so fucking awesome. Yeah, I'm Israel obsessed. How about moving billions of dollars worth of assets, naval assets, into the fucking region to defend Israel so that we can strike a foreign adversary that we have declared a foreign adversary at the behest of Israel to attack them for Israel? I would love to live in a world where I don't think about Israel at all. Like where Israel to me is no different than, I don't know, Estonia or something, right? I would love to live in that world. I wish to live in that world. I wish to live in a world where I forgot the name of Israel. Do you understand what I'm saying? But unfortunately, I don't live in that world. I live in this one. And in this one, American politicians will literally sell their firstborn children if it means Israel gets to have an additional $1 billion in munitions. Okay? They don't give a fuck. They don't care about you. They don't care about your interests. They don't care about fixing the fucking potholes. They care about making sure that Israel gets more and more military funding, that Israel gets to have all of its wishes, all of its desires fulfilled. You really should cover Estonian politics, man? No, I'm not going to do that. Okay? I want to live in a world where I think about Israel as much as I think about Rhodesia. That would be a beautiful world to live in. But for the time being, as an American political commentator, I have to think about Israel all the time because seemingly that's the number one priority of our politicians.
They've got those in place. And then today, overnight, on the 18th, another 10 tankers came from the continental United States, stopped in the UK, presumably to refuel, and they've gone all the way to Greece and to Bulgaria at American bases there. So those tankers are really important because the tankers create this sense that the Americans have got plenty of bases in the Middle East, but if for political reasons they can't use them, they don't need them. Because they've got bases in Greece and Bulgaria, they could use Cyprus, Aquitanian Cyprus, and the tankers will give them the range that those fighters and bombers might need to attack Iran, if necessary. The final part of the jigsaw are the Sentry E-3 aircraft. Very easy to recognize. These are the AWACS, the Airborne Warning and Control Aircraft. 6 of them are now in the region. You can start a war with one of these because they actually see the whole battlefield. And so with E-3 Sentry aircraft, we know that the Americans, by the weekend, could operate a very, very large campaign if they choose to from the weekend. We'll find out next week.
Thank you, Michael.
John.
Garrett.
On Iran, I'm not asking you for like military secrets here, but can you
You
share?
know I would be.
Why is Israel so important? I'm genuinely asking. It's not Israel that's necessarily important. It's that Israel is our base of operations in the region. Israel is the destabilizing factor in this incredibly resource-rich region. Israel is love. Israel is life. Israel is my favorite nation on the planet. Israel is the only nation that matters. There's no other nation that matters when you think about Israel. When I think about Israel, my heart is filled with joy. I cannot comprehend a country that I would care about more than Israel. Am Israel Chai. It was promised to the people that lived there 3,000 years ago. You guys are all anti-Semitic for not even thinking this every morning. Every morning I wake up and I think, I do my 10 Am Israel Chais, and I think to myself, Deni Avdija is the best basketball player that's ever existed on God's green earth. Benjamin Netanyahu is handsome. And also, I care about Israel more than I care about my family members. And yeah, that's it. LeBron James is also, not as good as Deni Avdija, but good enough, especially as of late. Deni Avdija is definitely not a foul merchant. Nope. He does not draw out unnecessary fouls. The referees are not in the pocket of Mossad. Gal Gadot needs not an Oscar, all the Oscars. Israel, small nation. Israel punching above its weight class. Israel, only nation. I want to live in a world where there's no other countries, okay? One nation under God, more like one nation under the state of Israel. All nations under the state of Israel. It's Israel's world. We're just living in it. Is that good? Deni Avdija has had 5 MVPs stolen from him. Quentin Tarantino is the greatest director of all time. Well, I used to believe, I mean, not the greatest, but I used to really like Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, United Nations, more like United Nations of Israel. I condemn October 7 more than I've ever condemned anything. Someone could kill my immediate family members, and I would condemn Hamas harder than I condemn those people. Israel is love. Israel is life. Israel is the only light in my life. Dude, you're being so anti-Semitic by not giving Israel enough props right now. Kalel, no. Jeffrey Epstein was a Russian asset. Well, Russia's too Israel aligned as well. Jeffrey Epstein was a Chinese asset. Jeffrey Epstein was a Hamas asset and Iranian. Certainly not an Israeli asset at all. Certainly not. Actually, Ehud Barak was a white hat pedophile hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein to uncover the deep entanglements that Jeffrey Epstein, the asset of Iran, was doing. Is that good? Maybe Ethan Klein will be off my ass now that I've said the truth, the only truth that should have ever been spoken. Is that good? Sex Pestiny, all of the numerous pedophilic lolicon enjoying Israeli content creators such as Nuxtaku. Perhaps now they can stop coming after me and focus on what they care about, which is, I don't know, reviewing drawn child pornography. I think you nailed the social interaction. Thank you. Last year, Trump said Iran's nuclear program was totally obliterated, and now his advisor tells Axios, I think there's a 90% chance we see kinetic action in the next few weeks. Do we need Israel as much now that we have Venezuelan oil? Neekskit, how dare you? I will fucking... Neekskit, I will literally laser you off of out of existence. Do you understand? Neekskit, place. How dare you? How dare you ask, do we even need Israel as much now that we have Venezuelan oil? How fucking dare you? Your time is coming. Okay? For saying such anti-Semitic things, for thinking such anti-Semitic thoughts. Are you telling me that Israel is not tiny nation? Best nation on the planet? Is that what you're telling me right now? Bruh. You better take that back right now. Say Israel is better than America right now. Say it right now. I'm gay and Lebanese. Do we actually convert this motherfucker? No, it's because he's a bot and he's a contrarian. Now that I said what I said about Israel, he had to fucking hit me with a contrarian position. That's it. Lucky for us,
legalize comedy
is here. That's right. We're legalizing comedy. So, yeah, we need a no politic here. We need a no politic here take.
I hate white people. I hate white people.
Hassan every 5 seconds is taking me out. I'm glad it makes him happy, at least Lamau. Thank you. This charisma sucking Jasmine Crockett are currently in races the bottom in the races. Oh, yeah, this one's awesome. Tel Aviv 24 throwing out Hasbara already. We've received information from sources in Iran that the Islamic Republic regime stored military ammunition inside Imam Khomeini Hospital in Urmia yesterday. The regime plans to use the ammunition against anti-regime protests in case new protests erupt in the city. It's pretty fucking crazy and pretty disgusting that looking at like how America has operated thus far, you could just get this as like a target. Like we know that they're looking at Twitter. They could just as easily bomb that hospital now. You forget the Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, update your list of priorities. I don't think about him at all because I think personally he doesn't actually dick ride Israel as hard as he should be. Like, I know you'll say, oh, he brings up Israel all the time. It's not nearly enough. Actually, he should, if he was a real one, he would say, as the monarch, I will make Iran a province of the greater Israeli project. Like, that's what he should be saying, and it's really fucked up that the Shah of Bethesda is not, you know, is capable of speaking, and worse, thinking such unspeakable anti-Semitic thoughts. Yeah, it's not sufficient. Islamic Republic of Iran, more like Israeli Republic of Iran. Reza Pahlavi. Did I miss it, Bernie? No. We can start posting that there are mass destruction weapons on the White House to distract the AI and Palantir. I don't want to do any more nation building, Hassan. That's insanely anti-Semitic. You are, dude, there are so many fucking anti-Semites in this chat today. What is happening, dude? What the fuck is going on? I say place to all of you, okay? Seriously. We have to do more nation building. We need to do more nation building. The more we build the nations, the better. Muin Rabbani takes a piece from this Notice article from John B. Judas, the coming conservative turn against Israel much deeper than you realize. Israel has reason to be concerned. It has already lost a generation of young Democrats, and now the same thing is happening among young Republicans. Without popular support, Israel and those Americans who favor its policies will have to rely on the clout of groups like AIPAC and the Anti-Defamation League, as well as super wealthy pro-Israel Jews such as Bill Ackman, also known as Bill A. Packman, Miriam Adelson, and Larry Ellison. Trump's own support for Israeli aims seems to have been heavily influenced by pro-Israel donors and by his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, whose family foundation has donated to West Bank settlements. That situation is probably not sustainable, and it could have a very bad side effects. Yeah, it won't, because democracy is a fucking lie. And if 99.9% of the population was against Israel, the American government would still behave in the exact same ways that it does. Okay? It's that fucking simple. I'm not even exaggerating, dude. It's upon us to make it as hard to contend with as possible. We have to keep protesting. We have to keep paying attention to what this government is doing. We have to tie it back to domestic policies if necessary. But these guys, if there wasn't, I mean, even with protests, they don't give a shit. Okay? Even with protests, they clearly do not give a shit. Kaya, you are bad. No, that food is not for you. That's human food. Get out of there. Bernie is about to have PTSD on stream.
Unless you want to give them. Can you share a little bit about the president's thinking on whether or not to strike Iran, who he's talking to, what information he's consuming, and why a strike might be necessary on a nuclear program he says was obliterated by the last U.S. strike?
Well, there's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration. He's talking to many people. Of course, his national security team, first and foremost, and you know who the members of that team are. And this is something, obviously, the president takes seriously. He's always thinking about what's in the best interest of the United States of America, of our military, of the American people. And that's how he makes decisions with respect to military action of any kind.
Rubbish on the streets, bikes to get around, power only by torchlight. This, the state of Cuba, desperately running out of oil supplies because it's reliant on Venezuela for fuel, and the US blocking imports of oil from there threatens to grind this island to a halt. The problem is everywhere to be seen in Havana, and this now a threat to public health. No fuel to power the rubbish trucks.
More American evil. Again, for years and years, Republicans used to say, Hassan, all you say is America bad, America evil. Why don't you get the fuck out of here if you hate it so much? And I tried to explain to them that the reason why I criticize America is because I love the promise of America, and I believe that America could do much better for both its citizens and for citizens everywhere around the world. Nowadays, liberals also fucking say the same shit. Liberals also say, Hassan, all you say is America bad, America evil, America bad, America evil. Except, nowadays, that reality is impossible to avoid. How can you call a nation state that has all of the power, the hegemonic superpower of the planet, doing this to a nation much smaller, much tinier in its that unfortunately has the proximity of a couple hundred miles? How can you call a country that does this to a much smaller nation, starving its population, killing its population deliberately, anything but evil? This is siege warfare. Okay? That's what it is. They say you support China because you didn't criticize the Uyghur suppression. That's really interesting that they say that, because that video is literally a video where I am doing just that, for the record. You need to actually watch the video. I've seen the video circulating. You just read the description. You didn't watch the fucking video. It's incredibly stupid. Exactly. I know that, but the Twitter posts have so many likes. What are you supposed to do? What can you do if people are fucking too stupid and too lazy to even listen to the words that are coming out of the video that they're using? What is this?
I find it quite silly to me that you're with the #1 looks maxer, and instead of asking how you could ascend so that, you know, your wife wouldn't tweet out captions like, when my husband's away, Mr. Sud comes out to play. Maybe if you asked me how to ascend, then that would stop happening to you. You know what I mean?
No.
Bruh.
That motherfucker is watching, bro.
Oh, it's serious, critical, very critical. It's prone to causing diseases which are caused by garbage. Please do something about this.
And no fuel for homes, schools, hospitals, causing blackouts for much of the day. Cuba's iconic 1950s cars replace.
I was thinking about this. Clavicular is me if I actually hyperfixated on, you know, bone mashing and looks maxing instead of like building socialism. So not like me at all, but the hyperfixation is there. The constant streaming is there. I just choose to use my autism for good. He uses his autism for evil and vain and shallow reasons. New thought just dropped. Yeah. One key difference, his father hates him, that too. But his father might love him if he also worked to build socialism instead of this. Your take on Gavin Newsom got debunked.
But why wouldn't you want to vote for Gavin Newsom? Why wouldn't I vote for Gavin Newsom? But why wouldn't you want to vote for Gavin Newsom?
So good. That's so good. Holy shit. Dude, Clavicular got him. Oh yeah, I saw this. Clavicular's PR team mogged the shit out of Will Gottsegen, staff writer for The Atlantic. Absolute mogging. I know this is a leftist meme because I had to read an uncomfortable amount. Oh man, are you uncomfortable reading 3 letters, dude? Come on.
By these electric bikes, the only way to get around in a country being choked off from its supplies. Life in Cuba has become almost unrecognizable for the Caribbean island, which usually attracts millions of tourists a year.
I used to be a driver.
I used to drive in El Medron, and I worked every day, but because of the gasoline and oil situation, we've had to take this alternative, find a tricycle to keep moving the population. There's no other way.
Cuba's communist ideology has put it at odds with the world's biggest superpower for years. It's now stuck between accepting...
That's one way to approach it. Put it at odds. More like Cuba's communist revolution is the reason why the largest superpower on the planet has actively punished it, choosing to starve its population, trying to kill its leaders since the beginning of the successful revolution.
White House demands, or facing a crisis that could snowball into catastrophe for citizens. Trump says it needs to make a deal or face the consequences, seeing a potential chance for a Cuban government to fall.
Cuba is right now a failed nation, and they don't even have jet fuel to get for airplanes to take off. They're clogging up their runway. We're talking to Cuba right now. I have Marco Rubio talking to Cuba right now. And they should absolutely make a deal because it's really a humanitarian threat.
Yeah, caused by you, motherfucker.
America is a region split at the moment, traditional alliances bending under the pressure of US involvement. These were much needed supplies from Mexico being shipped in last week. But its government now halting shipments after the US threatened tariffs against countries that send supplies to Cuba. Not everyone there agrees with the Sheinbaum administration, with demos against what some Mexicans say is economic suffocation for Cubans, and Chile's far-right president-elect saying it won't be lending Cuba a hand either.
I do not agree with giving direct economic aid to a government that has imposed a dictatorship for more than 60 years and has left the Cuban people in a very deprived, inhumane situation.
Russian tourists at the airport in Havana being repatriated, but while an inconvenience for its holidaymakers, this is potentially an opportunity for Russia itself, because Cuba now needs oil, and badly. Russia could be the one to provide it. With the US-Cuba relationship strained for decades, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants, is seen to be ramping that up further, accused of a personal agenda or even a lifelong dream to exact regime change. Rubio, for his part, defending the aggressive stance to Bloomberg.
God, we deserve so much worse than we get. It is crazy. There is truly no God. There is truly no karmic justice. It is unfucking bearable. Unfucking bearable. Do you think this is the cost to be paid for Fidel Maga in America for so long? Yeah, we should actually talk about how much Fidel and Che mogged and the ramifications of said mogging. Because, like, look at this ugly ass son of a bitch, okay, with his big old ears, Dumbo looking ass motherfucker, okay? Obviously, he still feels some type of way because of the amount of mogging that him and his fucking parents had to withstand, you know? That's the real reason. Stop, he can hear you. That's why I'm saying it. I want him to hear me with his big old Dumbo ears. Who is Cuban, by the way? Yeah. Narco Rubio literally comes from a family of fucking drug traffickers, okay? That's what's so crazy about it. Like, this motherfucker, his stepbrother was straight up a cocaine dealer, okay? And he's out here being like, oh, we got to take out Venezuela because of the drugs that they're dealing. Like, bitch, take yourself out. God damn. I hate this person so much. I hate him so much. I mean, I obviously hate Donald Trump too. I hate all of them. Yeah, his uncle went to prison for like 30 years. Like, it's not even, or no, not his stepbrother. Sorry, his brother-in-law. His whole family, his whole entire lineage are fucking drug dealers, dude. He is in some ways, unironically, exactly what conservatives claim is happening in the country. And yet they love him, right? Latino immigrant, coming from a Latino immigrant family that literally is like directly related to drug dealers, who then uses his position of power to advance like whatever kind of ethnic sectarianism he is committed to. Isn't that straight up the thing that these guys talk about when they're like, oh, we are being infiltrated by by Latinos who are going to use the government for their own personal pet project and their own personal ethnic resentments. Okay. The fuck?
Fundamental problem Cuba has is it has no economy, and the people who are in charge of that country, in control of that country, they don't know how to improve the everyday life of their people without giving up power over sectors that they control. They want to control everything. They don't want the people of Cuba to control anything.
Why can't you just let him breathe, man? Why can't you just fucking let him breathe? It makes no dang sense. Oh, dude, you don't understand. Socialism is just not working. Communism is not working. That's why we have to starve them, to make sure you understand.
The result for Cubans is a dark uncertainty with no surety of what's next or confirmation as to where help will come from, if at all.
David Adler works for the left-wing activist group Progressive International. He's one of the organisers of the Nuestra America flotilla that's taking aid to Cuba and was previously involved in similar missions to Gaza. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us, first of all...
It's my goat. That's our boy right there, chat. Working with David on this flotilla and the aid delivery. And there will be hopefully more information for all of you to consume soon.
What you've been doing, and can you tell us about the mission of your organisation in Cuba and the aid flotilla that you're sending there?
With this escalating assault on the island and its people, we've taken ourselves a large coalition of popular movements, unions, parties around the world to hear that call of humanity and respond by launching a large mission by sea, by air, a flotilla to reach the shores of Cuba and to provide that critical humanitarian aid, those essential supplies, medicine and food, solar panels, for example, that its critical infrastructure needs right now to prevent a true humanitarian catastrophe that has been forewarned by high-ranking UN experts and officials.
I know you were in Cuba just a few weeks ago. How much has the situation there changed since then, and what were the limitations on aid specifically as well?
I think it's possible to overstate the consequences of a siege of this nature. This is not just any geopolitical instrument. This is not just any normal foreign policy. What we're looking at is the failure of really critical infrastructure that sustains daily life on the island. Stuff as simple as trash collection, but something as important as neonatal care.
If you look at action within Cuba over the last few months and years, though, there have been protests against blackouts, shortages before. This isn't just necessarily a US issue. The Cuban government continues to repress dissent.
If China wants to win big points, they should send a huge ass ship filled with solar panels. I'm gonna keep it $1.50 with you. I think China needs to do a lot more than just send fucking solar panels. I think it is a disaster that the only thing that they've done so far is to send solar panels rather than invoke an international crisis by sending naval fleets alongside oil tankers, like taking oil tankers from Iran potentially or from somewhere else with actual Chinese naval assets and just shipping them over to fucking Cuba. Because a lot of people don't understand how the American embargo works. For example, here, I'll tell you one way that this works. When America applies a full spectrum embargo like the one on Cuba, okay, if you are a ship that has ever actually touched a Cuban port at any point in time, you no longer can work with any of the American ports. You can't go to another port that works with American ports for like 1,000, I think it's like for 1,000 days. So they block you from it. That's part of the reason why a lot of people, people in the shipping side of things don't do that. They don't work with Russia. They don't work with Iran. They don't work with Cuba for that reason. Like when America says, oh, dude, like Cuba's not entitled to our trade, they're fucking lying, okay? That's not how an American full spectrum embargo works. These people are oblivious to how psychotic the Treasury Department is, to how psychotic the American government is. Is 180 days? I thought it was 1,000 days. I might be wrong on exactly how many days, but like they literally render you, they basically make it so that you can't even fucking engage in like international shipping. Khrushchev knew what to do. Yeah. Revisionist or not, Khrushchev was a fucking lion when it came down to intervention. Okay? Putting nukes in Cuba gave Cuba the opportunity to develop, the opportunity to grow. Straight up. I will stand on that decision 1,000,000%. Okay? I've said it before and I will say it again. China has an opportunity to do more. China has an opportunity to offer protection to Mexico. China has an opportunity to offer protection to all of these other trade partners in the region that could be shipping oil, but they don't do it because they don't want to disrupt the flow. They don't want to stop trade maxing. It's disastrous. So when we have a conversation, look, I know I'm American and you know, I'm trying to do my part. I'm trying to bring awareness to the conditions in Cuba and what the American government has done. And we're directly trying to deliver aid to Cuba as well. But at the end of the day, you know, other global superpowers do have a lot more power at their disposal to game out the system a little bit, to offer a lifeline to the fucking Cuban population. And it's disgusting that they're choosing not to do that. Disgusting that they're choosing to turn a blind eye to these atrocities. Right now, there's a very limited amount of aid that is entering the island. And aid from America is not illegal either, for the record, until they turn around and make it illegal. But yeah, like right now, oh, it's 180 days. Sorry. Okay. OFAC, Office of Foreign Assets Control, in the Treasury Department will openly tell you, like, you can actually, well, there's a new executive order that just came out from the Trump administration that says, like, American ports can no longer send ships to Cuba because we're fucking disgusting. But the reality is, you can get an OFAC clearance to bring aid to Cuba. We're going to get an OFAC clearance to bring aid to Cuba, for example. But the thing that they're not allowing to send into Cuba, it's identical to like what Israel does with Gaza, right? It's identical to what Israel does with Gaza. Every single piece of humanitarian aid that goes into Gaza goes through Israeli control, okay? That's precisely what America is doing right now to Cuba. China has become the same imperial form Lenin excoriated. It's a sad state of affairs, and I don't know if it's just like China simply waiting out their developmentary process or if it's coming out of a place of pure selfishness. It's very difficult for me to look at the situation and not assume that it's coming out of a place of pure selfishness. Oh, fuck off. China is not imperial at all. Yeah, it's not. It's not imperialism that China is doing. They just straight up deny any responsibility that they might have as a global superpower. And while a lot of dingus on the timeline will fucking sit there and be like, oh, you just want China to be the world police. That's not what I'm saying at all. I don't demand China to be the world police. I'm just saying that, like, there can be some room for selfless behavior, especially if that selfless behavior could yield opportunity down the line for a self-invested, self-interested China. Like, China would never do what Russia did to Ukraine, right? They just wouldn't. Let's be real. They would not do that. But they're taking great advantage of the situation, the collapse of the international order. It's all great. It's all wonderful for them. Sometimes it's okay for you to push in the right direction. And Russia's actions, obviously, in Ukraine are not correct, are not moral, but I'm just saying, like, for Chinese interests or for shattering American hegemony, it has been very successful. Okay? It has been very successful. China just waits it out every single time. Someone else has to fucking do it, and then they'll, like, sit there and reap the rewards. Well, this is an opportunity for China to show the rest of the world that they are actually a superpower that is invested in stability, is invested in, like, you know, humanitarian aid. Show the world by tilting the scales a little bit that the United States of America is not a force for good. I think that kind of initiative does play a big role in getting people on board. It would absolutely shatter the xenophobic sentiment that many of these European counterparts have, or at least chip away at it. Okay? But wouldn't that open the permission structure with America and Taiwan? Open the permission structure? What are we talking about? That permission structure is wide open. What more could America do in terms of interference in Taiwan? They already have given Taiwan every single fucking piece of weapon that they possibly could have. I don't think Europeans, I don't agree Europeans don't care about Cuba. I don't agree with you. The United Nations has consistently demanded that America release the embargo around Cuba year over year, with exceptions, with 2 exceptions, Israel and the United States of America. And that's precisely the reason why the embargo remains. I think the amount of goodwill that they would secure is incredible. China won't outright give military aid and never does it publicly. Both China and Vietnam has had party leadership visit Cuba consistently. Yeah, I know. That doesn't fucking mean anything. They literally, America did a kidnapping. America kidnapped the leader of Venezuela while the fucking Chinese ambassador was in Caracas, dude. What are you talking about? China should be a lot more responsible near its own region, but expecting them to try and counterbalance the USA and the Americas is so crazy. I think it's just a different approach to foreign policy that would yield tremendous benefits for China down the line in ways that China cannot currently foresee. They just have a different approach. They want trade maxing. They want business as usual. They want America to continue collapsing on its own weight. That's it. That's their goal. That's what they're going to keep doing. There's not really anything we can do. And also, who am I to fucking complain? I mean, as long as China remains a superpower without overt imperialist ambitions, and that is the fucking case, by the way, right? You'll say Tibet, you'll say Xinjiang, you'll say Taiwan. All of these places have, in the eyes of the Chinese government, always been historically a part of China for a lot longer than the continental United States of America has ever fucking existed. I'm not saying right or wrong, by the way. I'm just simply telling you what their motivations are. And they haven't fucking moved beyond that an inch. Like, people talk about the South China Sea. They're building islands in the South China Sea. Once again, like, establishing a security perimeter in their own fucking backyard is the opposite of what we're talking about. If you're talking about imperialism, like, and also on top of that, they already have Asian cooperation with every single country with the exception of the Philippines. Like, what their goals are is the opposite of what America has done. We're talking about, you know, we're talking about a fucking country with 800 military bases that we know of, or 1,000 military bases that we know of. Anyway, it's not even close. They are not ambitious about advancing the interests of empire, no matter how hard Americans and the Western world says they are. Are they dominant and oftentimes heavy-handed in their approach to striking down any sort of like separationist movement? Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay? But having said that, like, even their approach to Taiwan, like, a lot of people misunderstand it, where they think like, oh, they're going to bomb Taiwan. They're going to invade Taiwan militarily. It's like, brother, you just don't understand what the Chinese approach to Taiwan is if you feel that way. Partially, I mean, I'm not even saying that it won't happen ever, but it is absolutely the fucking last possible option. And the reason for why I say that is because their approach to Taiwan is entirely different. They see people in Taiwan as their brothers, as their own people. They don't see it as like it's not even like Russia versus Ukraine. They don't see Taiwan as a colony to dominate. They see Taiwan as a stain on their national reputation, like the last remaining aspect of the century of humiliation that America's held on to. They don't want to fucking kill people in Taiwan. They want Taiwan to become a part of the People's Republic of China. It's also a constant security fear, obviously. Mao would have helped Cuba? Maybe.
Damn, this guy's good.